The following program is paid for and presented by John DeMasi. The opinions expressed are not those of Town Square Media or station advertisers.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now, the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Did you notice that with everything else that we have to talk about this week, how many people were wearing masks again? Did you see that? I mean, and they're wearing masks outdoors. Hey, I didn't make this up. I witnessed it myself many times. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Talk with a Purpose every Saturday here, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. A real pleasure. And yes, we got a couple of things to talk about today here on the show. Joe Yakovich coming in to straighten out our finances at 11 o'clock. And in between time, we'll talk about what we usually talk about, and that is Donald Trump. What else is there? You know, I mean, just when he gets a little bit out of the news, he comes back in. What's that saying? Just when they pulled me out, I come back in. So here we go again. What can I tell you? A lot to talk about. I don't know where to start with this because it's ridiculous in a lot of ways. But we'll just go over another Trump scandal. And this time it's more than a scandal. It's an indictment. And notice that the Democrats and the liberals upped their game. Before it was scandals and investigations. Now it's indictments. Why not? Trump, of course, indicted on charges of mishandling classified documents at his Florida estate, igniting a federal prosecution that is arguably the most perilous threat yet. Or is it? Is this really a big deal? I can't figure out. I really can't figure out. Okay, they're classified documents. And he's not supposed to have them. But what do they think he's going to do with them? Here's a guy, and I don't care what anybody says, he loves this country. And he got into this because he loves this country. What is he going to do with those documents? They were in a bathroom, they were in a shower stall, they were sitting there. What is he going to say to the Russians? Oh, hey, I got documents. You want to see them? Come on over. Come to Florida. I mean, this is ridiculous. Well, anyway, continuing. Do we know how classified those classified documents were? The Washington Post reported that several Trump advisors confirmed that he had been charged. Of course, the indictment was open. Haven't the Democrats and the liberals and the Washington elites tried this playbook before? Scandal after scandal after scandal. And to date, we have heard and we've been told none of them have proved anything. And we can go on and on about the probes and so on and so forth and the scandals they've tried. But this is the Democrats and the liberals, as I said, upping their game. This is the first time an indictment has come out. And within 20 minutes of the indictment, Trump started fundraising again. And I'm sure he's going to get more. I can see it now. He says it's us against them, and Trump will play that up. But will this indictment lead to anything further? And really, the goal, as I see it, for the Democrats is preventing Trump from running again for president. That is what the goal is. And I don't think it'll work. And I was thinking of this. Wouldn't it be funny if somehow they make a deal and Trump can't run again and somebody else runs and he runs against Biden and he beats Biden? Whoever that person is. I mean, I think at this point anybody can beat Biden. So the point of this whole thing is, lost in all of this is the fact that there has been a special counsel, Robert Hur, and he's appointed to investigate how a much smaller number of classified documents were taken to President Biden's home and office. And according to reports, it was also former Vice President Mike Pence. He had documents. Biden had documents. But, there weren't that many. They weren't that serious. Do you see this? Do you see again the double standard? So is it liberal speculation? According to the experts, multiple crimes have been committed by Trump, including the retention of national defense information, destruction of government records, and obstruction of an investigation. Oh, boy. The statutes governing the handling of classified records and obstruction are felonies that could carry years in prison in the event of a conviction. Will there be a conviction? That is the question. Maybe there's going to be a deal coming where Trump might agree, and although I really doubt this, but he might agree to not running again in exchange for acquittal. It could happen. I seriously doubt it. And as we know, Trump is a fighter. But again, the question is, how come Biden had documents? I think there were some in Philadelphia. There were some in Delaware. There were some, he's got a box or something at the University of Pennsylvania. So we're not hearing anything about that. But Trump, he's got classified documents. And again, what do you think? I mean, I didn't think that he's going to share them with anybody who is intending harm to the U.S. I mean, if they're sitting in his basement or in his shower or in his bathroom or wherever they are, that's a big place in Mar-a-Lago. So there's a lot of rooms they could hide them in. Oh, I mean, could you see it? Could you see this? Any enemy of the United States, we're going to send spies to Mar-a-Lago, and they're going to break in, and they're going to find those documents, and they're going to steal them all. Come on. Do you see how ridiculous? When you put it that way, it's ridiculous. And it's just, look, they upped their game. They really did. Instead of scandal, instead of all these investigations and all of those things, hey, let's throw an indictment out there and let's see where that goes. It's just ridiculous. I had a listener email me, and he is really distraught. He's disgusted with the way this country is going. And I tended to agree with him because it's unbelievable the lengths they will go to destroy this man. It's unbelievable. And why? Simple. Because he's a threat. I mean, they're not doing this to any of the other Republican candidates. They sure have enough to do against Chris Christie, don't they? I mean, they don't have to look too far. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, well, didn't he get in trouble with some kind of scandal? And I explained the Bridgegate thing. Oh, my God, he did that. So, you got enough with Christie. So, and of course, they won't dare do this to Tim Scott, because then they would be labeled racist. And that is a no-no. So you see, this whole thing is kind of ridiculous, especially when you throw in that Biden had the same thing and Pence had the same thing. But no, nothing against them. So we'll see. This is going to be very interesting. And Tuesday, President Trump goes to court. Will he go to jail? I don't think so. I don't think so. But it should be very, very interesting. Speaking of interesting, we can't wait for Seth Grossman on his take on this. Seth Grossman, who was in this position of sorts a couple of years ago, and he got his, didn't he? Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity. He's on the line. Seth, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. There's plenty to talk about, and a lot of it besides talking about Trump. But first, I want to be fair that I'd say 80% of the Liberty and Prosperity members support Trump. I'm with about 20% that support DeSantis. Of course, we're a non-political group. We have these discussions. But I thought it was interesting on Thursday when Harry Hurley, who also supports Trump, agreed with what a lot of us on the DeSantis side agree with, in that all this problem, the legal problems with Trump, all go back to 6 months after he was in office. When during his first 6 months, he had the FBI had been weaponized to cover up all these bad things that Hillary Clinton had done and to promote false charges about Trump. And that was the FBI, led by Jim Comey. And, of course, Trump dithered for about 6 months while Comey and the FBI were doing all this damage to him. But finally he decides to fire Jim Comey and replace him with somebody else. And this was Trump's opportunity to pick somebody who he trusted, who would do the right thing, who would clean up the FBI, punish the people who had pushed the false Russia narrative, and really protect Trump, protect America, and clean up all the bad stuff that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats had been doing. And Trump had that opportunity. So he had to pick somebody new for the FBI. So who does Trump turn to for advice? He turns to Chris Christie for advice, and Chris Christie recommends that Trump appoint Chris Wray to run the FBI. And, of course, Chris Wray was from the same swamp as Comey and continued to weaponize the FBI against Trump and undermined everything Trump did, and covered up what the Democrats were doing. So that was a key point. So, of course, those who support Trump say, oh, yeah, Trump had to deal with all these deep state backstabbers like Chris Christie, who gave him bad advice, and he hired bad people, and those bad people undermined Trump. And then, of course, you have the DeSantis people saying, well, Trump should have known better. Why would he reach out to someone like Chris Christie? Why would he reach out to the swamp? So that's what the disagreement is. And, of course, there's plenty of time for all this to play out. But I just wanted to mention it.
What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I mean, a whole lot of stuff, and I really don't want to guess about what's going to happen. And, of course, that's what we talk about at Liberty and Prosperity. We're going to be every Saturday morning, 9:30 to 10:30. We meet at Sal's Brick Oven Pizza in Summers Point to talk about that. But meanwhile, there's a lot of other stuff going on. For example, Saturday, of course, if you're hearing this on Sunday, you missed it, but the Protect Our Shore group is having a fundraiser in Ocean City at the American Legion Post, the one that's on 45th Street and West Avenue in Summers Point. It's $25, and they're fighting a legal challenge to the wind turbines. That's a very important event, and it's important for Liberty and Prosperity to work with all these groups, Democrats and Republicans, to stop that disaster, because it's not too late to stop it. And by the way, the proof that it's not too late to stop the wind turbines is the Atlanta County Democrats. And all this is posted on our website, by the way, libertyandprosperity.com. And I urge everybody to not only read our stuff on the website, but also, if you agree with it, to click the Facebook icon, to share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, hit the Twitter icon, even if you don't have Twitter, so you could copy and paste the link and share this stuff in your emails, because there's a lot of information out there that people are not going to see in the media. But anyway, the Democrats in Atlantic County sent to every single Democrat, got this 7-page email of, quote, talking points about offshore wind. And it just tells one lie after another. And all this, again, is posted on our Liberty and Prosperity site. But I just want to give a couple of points. The Atlantic County Democrats said, well, we need the wind turbines because the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says that the climate crisis demands immediate action to stop using fossil fuels and to develop renewable energy. That's what the Democrats are saying. But the truth is that UN panel is controlled by the communist regime in China that wants to dominate the world by destroying the economies of every free competing country. And communist China, which controls that UN panel, is now building nearly 2 new coal-fired power plants every week. And if you really think that fossil fuels like coal or oil or gas are a problem, the best option is not wind or solar, which is unreliable, but nuclear energy, like what we have at the Salem power plant. The second thing in this, and I'm not going to go through the whole 7-page email, but I just want to hit a couple of high points. The Atlantic County Democrats told all their followers, quote, to save the planet from catastrophic weather extremes, countries must stop using fossil fuels. And the truth is there's no evidence whatsoever that we're having more catastrophic weather during the past 100 years than we did before. Far fewer people are dying from natural disasters, and yes, there's more property damage from hurricanes. Why? Because people are building more expensive homes right next to the water. But every single bad fire, flood, tornado, the Democrats and the media are saying, "Oh yeah, that's climate change." Even the forest fires in Canada, which is something else. And the Democrats are saying that we need that Biden's $7.5 billion infrastructure bill says we're going to have 500,000 electric charging stations. The truth is, Democrats want Americans to be totally dependent on electricity because electricity can be closely monitored, controlled, and shut off by the government at any time for any reason. The Democrats say offshore wind is reliable. All you have to do is look any of the posts. I've repeated this many times. No, wind energy is as fickle as the wind. And Germany is just finding that out. For years, Germany used cheap natural gas from Russia to compensate for how awful and unreliable the wind energy was. And now that Russia cut off that natural gas, the Germans froze last winter, and they had to chop down trees to burn wood to keep warm. So that's what you're looking for in America. The other thing, and I don't want to bore you with the physics, but whenever they say, the wind turbines can power 2,000 homes, like they say for the 5 Atlantic City wind turbines, yeah, it only powers 2,000 homes if the wind is blowing at 26 miles an hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. The minute that the wind speed drops by half, it's an exponential change, which means you only have 12% of the power that you had before. But the Democrats ignore the science. And, of course, the biggest lie that the Democrats are saying is, the wind turbines and the sonar test have nothing to do with killing whales. Well, do we ever have whales die like this and porpoises die like this before? Of course not.
No.
And this is just the sonar testing. And if they stick 300 wind turbines right in the path, the migration path of the right whales, they're going to kill more whales and make the species extinct. So the Democrats are completely lying. They're sending this out to every person on their Democrat Party mailing list. And I think that's a good thing because it means that Democrats as well as Republicans have been calling their legislators to put an end to this wind energy disaster. And they're feeling the heat and they're pushing back. And we just have to push back against their pushback. And I think we're making a lot of progress.
What else is going on today?
All right. Well, some of the other posts that we have, the quote, unprecedented fire season in Canada. Of course, President Biden and Governor Murphy said, see, that's proof of climate change. But there's some other stuff going on. Is it a coincidence that Chinese spy balloon just happened to go over all the areas of Canada where you're having the fires? Now, of course, that's just speculation, but there's more evidence to support massive arson and organized arson by a whole lot of people who have a motive to start these fires than anything else. All we know is it's unprecedented that you've had dry spells in Canada before. In fact, they called this the fire season, but you never had fires like what you had this time. Something else is obviously going on. So we have a post like that in our on our Liberty and Prosperity website. A second thing that we have is the disturbing Matt Walsh Twitter, What is a Woman? Not only is there a great documentary film about the just how disgusting and evil this whole money-making racket is to do these irreparable sex change operations, you know, where you cut off people's breasts, you cut off women's breasts, you cut off men's testicles, irreversible surgery under the flimsiest of pretenses where there's not even real medical examination. They're doing these, making decisions to have insurance pay for these horrible operations just based on one video session where doctors are coached to lie and just ask the patients to fill in the blanks of these forms. So if you haven't seen that yet, go to our libertyandprosperity.com site and see what we're talking about. The second thing that we have posted is we talked last week about how the CEO of the Hard Rock Casino went on this whole, I guess, rant at a community meeting on May 25th, where he said that the Hard Rock is totally committed to replacing all of their, management of white males with women, people of color, people of other minorities, that's the top priority. So what's happening to the Hard Rock Casino is exactly what happened with Target, with Bud Light, with Bank of America, and these others. So what is driving all this? And it's really this what's called, I guess, corporate equality points, ESG points, where you have these corporations like BlackRock, Wall Street, government regulators are basically forcing every corporation to adopt this woke agenda that is pushing down the stock, pushing down profits, hurting employees, hurting customers, giving us shoddier service, and why. We explain why in our web article, and I recommend that everybody go there because that's really a fundamental issue that needs to be talked about. And I'm just trying to think of some other topics. No, I think I've said enough.
Wait a minute, you're early. I gotta ask you a question though. This thing with Hard Rock about diversity, didn't they say this with all of their important people in positions of power? They're all white and they're male. Isn't that the truth?
Right. I forget the executive's name. Jim
Allen. Yeah.
Jim Allen. Right. So he opens the speech, and it was interesting because it was a community meeting, but there was no media there. So that meeting did not get any attention. And basically, Jim Allen said, here we are, we're on the anniversary of the death of George Floyd, and that was such a horrible thing. It transformed me completely. And he said, and when that incident happened, I looked around at the Hard Rock board and saw that it's 12 white guys running the corporation. And we are not qualified, he said, because we just don't get it. So we made a change, and we got rid of, I think he said they got rid of 5 white guys and replaced them with people of color and women and other minorities. So what he didn't say is, it's not 5 white guys. You have 5 people who dedicated their lives to building a career. So he didn't say the 5 white guys were not good managers. that they weren't good to employees, that they weren't good for the company, that they worked hard, that they were talented, they were prepared. It's like their qualifications, their talent, their achievements don't matter.
That's right.
The only thing that matters is their race and their gender. And because of this, they're gone, and we have new people. And he didn't name, so when he did this, he didn't name who he let go, who he hired. Oh, he said, oh, yeah, one guy, we still have an extra white guy here, but don't worry, he's retiring soon. I mean, talk about dehumanize people.
Yeah.
And of course, why are they doing that? Now, I'm skeptical as to whether Jim Allen really had that life-changing experience, because if you look up on Wikipedia, you see that the Hard Rock, I think, was one of the few major corporations that kept doing business in Russia after the invasion of Ukraine. And so Hard Rock was criticized for that by BlackRock and Wall Street and all the government people. So I think it's very, very possible that BlackRock said, oh, okay, we got to find out how to be on the good side of these people. And then they are promoting this woke agenda. But if you go back and think about it, I think it started with the Dixie Chicks. When suddenly you see all these performers, all these corporations, all these businesses, all these celebrities suddenly say all this woke stuff that often destroys their careers or destroys their business, because they're insulting they're firing their best employees, they're not promoting their best employees, they're discouraging them. People are not really putting their best into it. They're driving away their customers. They're driving down the share price. Why are they doing that? And again, look at that website we have where we explain that. There's a podcast in great detail. But part of it isn't just because of the threats of people like BlackRock. You find out that BlackRock owns 20% of the stock of almost every major corporation. And they're going to these corporate meetings and they're saying, well, we're going to fire all you corporate executives if you don't go ahead with this global woke agenda. They call it ESG, environment, social justice, and governance or something. So this is far more widespread, far more evil than I thought it was. But if we use the boycotts, and by the way, they recommend 3 ways of dealing with this. First of all, to do the boycotts, and the Bud Light and Target boycotts have been very successful.
Yes.
Completely drove down the price of the stock, and now that opens up those executives to shareholder class action lawsuits. Elon Musk pointed that out. So these executives who go along with the woke agenda are actually committing a crime of embezzlement, a crime of theft by deception. They're taking investor money for one purpose, and they're destroying the investment of the people who trusted them. So that's one way of doing it. A second thing, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm an owner of Exxon stock, and they had all these woke agenda items at their annual meeting. And I said, oh, gee, this is going to kill my stock. I'm going to vote no against it. But who am I to vote against BlackRock, because they got a lot more shares than I do? Well, they got the results of that shareholder meeting, and all the woke agenda items were voted down.
Good.
So that's a second way to do it. Good. But the third way to do it is we've got to replace President Biden with a Republican president who is actually going to turn the Securities and Exchange Commission, the racketeering laws. All this is in violation of antitrust law, of racketeering law. It's downright extortion. So even though it's good to have boycotts, even it's good to act as shareholders, even lawsuits are good, but the end result is we need the government to enforce racketeering laws, because really this is no different than the mafia selling protection.
Yes.
The mafia would say, we think you need protection or something bad might happen to your business. That's exactly what BlackRock and those other Wall Street firms are doing to these corporations. Now, see, I used up enough time now, right?
Now you're late again. Now we feel good.
I'm late for my meeting. LibertyandProsperity.com, and have a great week.
You too. Seth Grossman, LibertyandProsperity.com is the website, and of course, the meeting has started without Seth for the first couple minutes. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We will get started with John, Craig, Bob, and maybe you at 609-407-1450. Coming back after these words.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
Let's get started. I always want to say, let's get ready to rumble. We'll bring in Michael Buffer one of these days. Let's get started. John in Ocean City here on Talk with a Purpose. John, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Yes, good morning. For starters, I'm not trying to take Maddie's place. All your listeners missed the man, including me. Just, I don't want to keep on bringing his name up anyway. But anyway, I didn't want to bring up as a main topic of conversation those fires, because over 10 days ago, I heard first that the fire started in British Columbia. That's the Pacific Coast province of Canada. Then its next door neighbor, Alberta, which is also Western Canada. Then Central Canada, that's Manitoba. Then Ontario and Ottawa, which is eastern provinces of Canada. And then finally Nova Scotia, which is 700 miles away. So it looks suspicious to me. That's all I want to say about that. But I wanted to bring up the Nova Kakhovka Dam that was breached this past, I think, 6th of D-Day, 83rd anniversary of D-Day. Anyway, even CNN admits that Russian troops were swept away by the concomitant flood caused by the breaching of the Nova Kakhovka Dam. Now, the idea there is that the Russians blew it up to prevent Ukrainian soldiers from passing over to the eastern side of the Dnipro River. The D's not pronounced. It's Dnipro or Dnipro River. Okay. The only problem with that is an article from 21 October 2022. It says it right here. A withdrawal of Russia's 30,000 troops along the east coast of the east bank of the Dnipro River will not be easy. Ukraine has largely destroyed the main bridges crossing the Dnipro River, around Kherson, leaving Russians only a Russian-made pontoon bridge and the Kakhovka Dam itself to move forces and equipment across that river. So that contradicts what's being said now. They're saying that the Russians blew the dam up to prevent Ukrainians from crossing over. Well, why did the Ukrainians blow up the main bridges crossing that river anyway? Actually, it's the Russians that were using it, not the Ukrainians. So there's a lie right there. And the Russians had said that would be a false flag, or not a red flag, but a false flag, and that Russians would get blamed. Now, if the Russians blew up that dam like they're saying they did, they already controlled that dam anyway. They could have put up an impenetrable blockade there on that dam to prevent the Ukrainians from crossing over. And why didn't they notify all those Russian troops? There's over 30,000 Russian troops that were displaced by that flood. How come they weren't notified before the dam was blown up? So that doesn't make sense at all. I think we're being lied to on many fronts here. Even a New York Times article had said that the Biden administration had overheard the Ukrainians wanting to blow up the pipelines, the Nord Stream pipelines. There's 3 of the 4 pipelines were blown up. So that just reinforces my belief that it was a Western-backed plan. Now, of course, Ukraine is not technically the West. The West is an institution. They're not a part of that institution. But they are a puppet government, of course, and they're dirty dogs there. Over 30 biochemical warfare labs were discovered there, and 32,000 children were rescued from child trafficking. So they are dirty dogs. That tells me right there that they're a bunch of dirty dogs. But if anybody thinks that I'm a special pleader for the Russian Federation, this is a quote from the mayor of Baku, and that's in Azerbaijan. He said this, and he's backed by the president of Azerbaijan, Aliyev. And he said, "Our goal is the complete elimination of Armenians. You Nazis already eliminated the Jews in the 1930s and 40s, right? ? So you should understand us." So this is a plan of genocide against Armenians. Armenians are Eastern Orthodox Christians, as are the Russians. Now, the Russians belong to the Eastern Orthodoxy, but the Russian Orthodoxy is just part of the Eastern Church. But they have never come to the aid of their Armenian brothers and sisters with all this going on. So, yeah, I'm not a special pleader for Vladimir Putin, but I'm just saying we're being lied to on so many fronts. We can't let cognitive dissonance creep into our thinking either. So I just want to put that out there. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, John. You mean they're lying to us? Oh, that's news, isn't it? Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We've picked up a few callers here. Craig, Bob, Andy, Greg, in that order, and maybe you at 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. More Talk with a Purpose in just a moment. But first, if I told you that you could get eggs for $1.69, extra large eggs for $1.69 a dozen, would you run? Yes. BF Mazzeo, extra large eggs, $1.69 a dozen. Now, I don't normally mention prices here on this show, but $1.69? Yeah, you better run, because I'll tell you what happened. A couple of weeks ago, I said, boy, those Jersey fresh strawberries, they're really good, and I want to get some. And I got there, and it's 12 o'clock, of course, after the show. I go there, and they were gone. So, hey, you get there now while the getting's good. Don't wait for my show to be over. Go there. Go ahead. BF Mazzeo, of course, the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere. And wanted to mention to you that there's a new text messaging service. And if you want to be a part of that, and this is where, you'll get those specials like eggs or whatever before everybody else gets them, text your number to 855-910-1246. That's 855-910-1246. You text your number and you will be part of the text messaging service, and you'll get specials that nobody else will get. It's that simple. Of course, BF Mazzeo with the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere. And don't forget, gift baskets. And, Father's Day coming up next week. Okay. And, if, hard to get dad something, all fathers are hard to get for. Let's face it. So, if, the hard to get to specials, a gift basket, a fruit basket, that's what you want. And especially some of the gift baskets, they're themed, and the watermelon tower, that's a really, really neat gift. So check it out. Online, bfmazzeo.com, bfmazzeo.com. BF Mazzeo, the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere. 601 New Road in Northfield, and again online at bfmazzeo.com. Coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey today. Partly sunny, pleasant, the high 85. Mainly clear tonight, we're going down to 57. A partly sunny day tomorrow, it's hotter, the high 90. And then mostly cloudy on Monday, breezy and humid with a couple of heavy thunderstorms in the afternoon. Could bring some hail and damaging winds. Monday's high 83. I'm AccuWeather's Rose Tamburino on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We're back here on Talk with a Purpose, 609-407-1450, our number here in the studio. Let's talk to Craig in Northfield. Craig, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Well, good morning, John. Thanks for taking my call. And, Seth, are you going to tell me that we're not supposed to trust a past federal prosecutor, to select an FBI director? And he is also a New Jersey governor, one of the most powerful positions in our country? Come on, Seth. It goes further that now that Donald knows, okay, who's in the swamp, okay, I mean, who would know? We just found out because Denny Levinson mentioned that Ray was Christie's attorney for the Bridgegate.
Yeah.
That came out on Harry's show yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew that, yeah.
Okay. And so if he's talking about DeSantis can't even handle, okay, talk about selecting bad things. I mean, how about his announcement for his presidency? That was a flop. He can't handle Disney. That's so, Seth, you know what? You better clean up your little corner over there before you start picking on some of the things that Donald J. Trump does. Because can you imagine? We're not just talking about, a corporation coming after Donald J. Trump. We got, the people that the woman that sued Donald J. Trump from that Nordstrom's, I think, or whatever it was.
Oh, Bergdorf Goodman.
Bergdorf, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. But, guess what? The person that supported her for that lawsuit allegedly was from LinkedIn. Okay? And then you're talking BlackRock is all these other corporations that went, he supports all these big corporations that went after Donald Trump. So, I mean, think about it, Seth. You had Twitter, Facebook, okay? You had BlackRock, and you have the force of the United States government, the DOJ, and the Department of Justice coming after Donald J. Trump. I mean, who could handle that?
That's true. But I think, Craig, his point with Christopher Wray was that Christie kind of sabotaged Trump by telling him who to pick when he knew that the people that he was picking weren't going to be good in the long run for Trump. I think that was the point.
No, he actually was. He did say that, and I agree with you there. My point is that yes, Seth, he did pick Ray, and he did sabotage Donald J. Trump, and maybe that was part of Christie's overall plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Because he's a vindictive guy.
Yeah, he is. He is. Oh, yes, he is.
A guy died over the bridge trying to get over the bridge in the ambulance that was blocked, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's
How
right.
much more vindictive can you get?
That's right. Yeah.
You can't go to the beach, but he can go onto the beach. I'm surprised that the chair didn't collapse.
And he said, if you want to go into that beach, you become governor.
So that's Seth, that's even more of a reason, okay, what we see today, okay, let's talk about those boxes. A lot of people don't know those boxes were loaded up into Air Force One. Okay, Marine One first, then Air Force One, and Donald J. Trump arrived at Mar-a-Lago with those boxes while he was still president. I don't know if people know that.
No, I didn't know that. I didn't.
Oh, yeah. It's on film. They actually have it very well detailed. So here's a guy that can declassify documents. So I'm going to ask you this, because maybe, I'm going to say you're much more intelligent than I am.
I don't know about that. Yeah.
What happened to when they discovered Obama's boxes? What happened to those boxes? Why is it so quiet about Obama's boxes? I just want to know. I brought that up. I mean, and listen, if I disappear, you know why.
Yeah.
But where are those boxes?
Well,
Where are his boxes?
You can't bring up anything about Obama.
There we go.
You can't, because you'd be labeled a racist. So there
you go.
That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we need to stop with that. I like what Mr. Scott did on The View, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how they talked about racism, and he can't really be a black person. He really backed them right up, and he says, "Listen, we got to stop this. We got to get the black youth of America educated, and we're failing the black youth of America."
That's right.
So and Biden with his boxes in the garage.
Yeah.
That could be, and like Donald J. Trump said, that garage door was vinyl. You could cut it with a knife. And you could see all the boxes back there. But here's the key thing. Only a president can declassify. And those boxes were from when Biden was vice president. Key point, right?
Yeah, well, hey, you're not going to go after Biden because he's Joe Biden. He's our boy.
I leave you with my final?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want everybody to keep tabs, okay, on the Clinton Foundation and how Obama knew where all that money was coming from, and believe me, he wanted a piece of that, and I do believe he got a piece, in my opinion, of the Clinton Foundation. I think that was divided up, and I think he got some of the Biden Foundation also.
I'm sure he did.
Okay, let's see what breaks.
Craig.
And that's my tinfoil hat thing for today.
Thanks a lot for the call. Bob and Cape May. Bob, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, good morning, John. This persecution or prosecution of President Trump, it's pure Soviet era, comes right out of the henchman of the KGB, Yevgeny Bereya, Stalin's chief henchman, said, show me the man and I'll find you the crime. Completely unjust prosecution going on.
Yeah, that's right.
But regarding Seth's point, and just regarding Craig's point here, there were other options in terms of the FBI director, Rudy Giuliani. I put his name out there. I don't think Rudy Giuliani would have backstabbed President Trump.
No.
I don't think our country would have been going through this mess had there been a better appointment. And to trust the Cape May Orca or the Hindenburg, whatever you want to call him, to trust him as one of your top advisors.
Oh, man.
After the mess he created here in New Jersey, destroyed the Republican Party in New Jersey, and then this creature has the audacity to run for president again. All right? So, I don't think that was a good person to trust as an advisor. And, I said this last week. Rush Limbaugh even said President Trump's picking of personnel was puzzling.
Yes, it was.
So,
yes, it was.
And look, do we have an option B? Do we, a conservative movement, the Trump, let's call it the Trump movement, the MAGA movement, do we have an option B just in case President Trump does get convicted, as unjust and as horrible as it would be? Keep in mind the civil litigation in New York. He was convicted there on that civil case of that idiotic woman who claims he raped her in a department store. Now, there's absolutely no credibility to that. But a stinking jury in New York City convicted him. I know the rape charge was not convicted of the rape charge, but he still was convicted of some other
damaging her reputation.
Millions of dollars, okay, and damages. Now, what do you think? This jury in Miami is going to be the friendliest. There's a jury in New York City, totally bogus prosecution again, in Atlanta. They're going to have a trial in Atlanta, and then they're going to probably have a trial in Washington, D.C. So what is going to happen there? If our what is going to happen? Should we not have a plan B, meaning, another candidate waiting in the wings who will, who knows what could happen here, and whether or not this is a Democrat plan to make Trump the nominee, that, and it seems to be working that way, or if they are so fearful of Trump that they want to get rid of him. It in a lot of ways it doesn't matter, because again, if he can't run for whatever reason, and he's 78 years old, what happens if he gets ill? Are we going to destroy the heir apparent? Are we going to destroy him with? And it seems like that's the heir apparent I'm talking about is Ron DeSantis.
Of course, yeah.
There's nobody comes close in our movement.
No, you're right.
And you've got the Trump PACs accusing DeSantis of being a tax raiser, of wanting to tax the middle class. Total lie. Of ending Social Security.
That's a lie. Are we going to? Yeah, that's a lie too. Yeah.
Yeah, total lie. So, again, it's one last point about Hard Rock casinos and these woke corporations that Seth made. Yeah. A boycott is absolutely in order. We should not tolerate, in terms of I'm talking about fair-minded Americans. We should not tolerate racism in any form.
That's right.
And Seth is so correct. I mean, you've got their CEO and, saying that, look, let's hire purely based on race, not on merit, but on race. So, anyway, all right, I'm done.
Okay, thanks a lot for the call, Bob. Boy, we're stirring up the pot today. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hour number 1 is rapidly coming to a close. We will have some final thoughts in hour number 1 after these words.
It's all good, very good. The Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, in conjunction with AMI Atlanticare, presents the 37th Annual Red, White, and Blueberry Festival, Sunday, June 25th in Hamilton, the blueberry capital of the world. You want blueberries? They have millions of them, fresh from the farm, plus pies, cupcakes, cannoli, buckle, ice cream, and more. Live music from Stealing Savannah, and party with DJ Nikki G. Great food, crafters, kiddie rides, and the Cruisin' Classic Car Show. Sunday, June 25th, Hamilton High School grounds, just off Route 30 in Hamilton. Free admission. Follow signs to free festival parking. The Red, White, and Blueberry Festival, brought to you in part by AMI Atlanticare, NJM Insurance Group, Rothman Orthopedics, Truist Bank, and Servpro Team Fabiani. And also by
Adams, Raymond, and Hagen in the community, Alloy Silverstein Group, Archer Law, and Atlantic Blueberry. Supported in part by a grant from the New Jersey Department of State, Division of Travel and Tourism. It's all good. Very good. Oh, I'm not used to following myself. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Let's talk to Greg and Absec. And Greg, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Mr. DeMasi, good morning.
Morning, sir.
I just wanted to touch on the new Green Deal. We're beating it to death, but it deserves it. We spent over 50, almost 60 years cleansing the waters. I fished those waters. I saw them clear. Gradually from the surface down over 50 years, to the point where we have white sand that was now visible, and any growth that was taking place on the floor of the bay was visible. Fish moving were visible. All of that is just going to go by the board. We spent 50 years wasting our time because that's all going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
And we're going to be back to ground zero. There was a time you could not put a piling back in the bay unless you got the EPA to come and supervise the entry of the piling. It's absurd.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're going to destroy all that with these wind turbines. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, they start laying cable. They're digging trenches. On the tidal change, whatever they're disturbing as far as mud and debris and whatever on the bottom ends up back in the bays again.
Boy.
And that will permeate the bays back to the landmass. There's no stopping it at that point.
And why doesn't anybody bring this up? I don't understand that.
I just did.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived the waters for that number of years fishing. And what happened when they first came out, you said, well, that's an improbability. We're not going to clean these waters. You can't look into the water to begin with right now. And gradually over time, you literally saw the soil level decreasing.
Yeah.
Down to the point where you saw white sand. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But they're going to continue it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they are, because money talks. Don't you know that, Greg? Money talks.
Oh, yeah. It certainly does.
That's right.
The Trump situation.
All right, quickly.
They just, I can't get, is there any possibility that even though he's in jail, he could still be elected?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, the absurdity of what's taking place is driving people crazy.
Oh, yeah. It definitely is. Greg, we got to run. We're up against the clock. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. And I didn't mention in my opening comments, what about Hillary Clinton? How about all those emails? What was it, 30,000 of them? What about that? You know, what about Hillary Clinton being investigated? And, you know, this whole thing, I mean, there's many, many presidents that we could say could be investigated for the same thing. Hour number 1 is in the books. Talk with a Purpose. Every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hour number 2 on the way. Don't go away.
.5 FM and 1450 AM WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square Media station. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now, the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 2, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. And again, this hour, we'll have a lot to talk about. You know, we'll get into this a little bit later on, but they're trying to do away with putting AM radios in cars. Did you know that? Yeah. And of course, we have many of our listeners listen to us on the AM 1450, which is a stronger signal than the FM. So they're trying to get rid of us, but we'll talk about that. But first, we want to talk to Andy in Brigantine. Andy, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Morning, John. It's a great day in Brigantine.
Yes, it is.
I've got a lot to unpack. But first, I want to let the listeners know, in case they don't already, Tucker is back on Twitter.
Yes.
And he doesn't do a show every night, but he does, and it's not a full hour show. It's basically a monologue. It's about 15, 20 minutes. And you don't have to have a Twitter account to watch this program. It's called Tucker on Twitter. All you have to do is text the word Tucker to 44055. 44055. Write that down. Text the word Tucker to 44055, and then every time they drop a new show, you'll get a text message with the link. You just press on the link, it loads up, and you can watch it on your device in 2 seconds.
Thank you for that. Yeah, you sent me that in a text, so I appreciate that. But thanks for that, and thanks for sharing.
Yes, thank you for sharing. So let's talk about President Trump. It's interesting that they're getting him with the Espionage Act. These are the same people who spied on Donald Trump, the candidate, Donald Trump, the nominee, Donald Trump's transition team, and Donald Trump, the president. They spied on him. We know that. But they're getting him on the Espionage Act. That's breathtaking. It's also an interesting coincidence that the day after we get this bombshell document showing that both Joe and Hunter Biden were paid $5 million each, and Joe Biden was bribed with that $5 million, the very day after that document gets exposed, suddenly Donald Trump gets indicted again. And they're going to hold these indictments in abeyance until each time there's another piece of information exposing the Biden crime family. Then they'll drop another one of these Trump indictments as the proverbial shiny object to divert your attention away from Joe Biden and the crime family and on to Donald Trump. So that's what that's all about. But you mentioned Hillary Clinton, and I was champing at the bit before you went to the break at the top of the hour. I'd like to talk about that Hillary Clinton thing, and that's what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So remember, John, they talked about how Donald Trump had some of these documents in a bathroom at Mar-a-Lago, right?
Yes.
So Hillary Clinton had an unsecured computer server stored in the bathroom closet at her house in Chappaqua, New York.
Yes.
Which was not protected by any security.
Right.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump's bathroom and Mar-a-Lago was under 24-hour Secret Service protection. There's no way anyone would be able to get into that building at Mar-a-Lago. It was a fort.
Right.
Okay? Donald Trump had his boxes under lock and key, most of them in a storage room. The FBI knew they were there because they came to visit Mar-a-Lago, and they asked President Trump at the time, and they admit, the FBI said he was very cordial. He welcomed them in. He told them, look at whatever you want, take whatever you want. And they said to him, would you please put an extra padlock on this door? It would just make us feel a lot more comfortable. They didn't take anything. They just asked him to put an extra padlock on the door, which he did. Why didn't they take the documents then when they were there the first time?
Yeah,
because
right.
They needed to keep them.
Right.
They needed to keep those documents there until such time as they were needed, like when a document was discovered about the Bidens. See, they had to postpone the Trump scandal until it was needed to divert away from the latest Biden scandal. So they left the documents there, protected under lock and key and Secret Service protection. Now, what did James Comey say about Hillary Clinton? Do you remember that special meeting that Bill Clinton had on that tarmac in Phoenix, Arizona?
Yes.
With Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General?
Oh, yes.
They both just happened, John, by coincidence, to be at the same airport on the tarmac. So Bill Clinton went and got on to Loretta Lynch's plane, and he had a little conversation with her. And we were told they talked about golf and their grandchildren for 20 minutes. Well, coincidentally, right after that discussion, that conversation on the tarmac with Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton, right after that, James Comey came out and he released his findings, and he spent 15 minutes talking about all of the crimes that Hillary Clinton had committed. Now, this is what's really important, John. Right after that conversation with Loretta Lynch, Bill Clinton, so James Comey changed the words on the document which said that Hillary Clinton was grossly negligent, which is a crime.
Yes.
She could have been put in jail. He changed the wording from grossly negligent to extremely careless.
IWPG.
He lessened.
Yeah.
He lessened what she did, and then Comey listed all of the crimes she had committed, but then he said she was extremely careless, and he said that no reasonable prosecutor would bring charges. Now, Donald Trump, whatever he is accused of, is 1% of what Hillary Clinton did, yet Donald Trump is under threat of being put in jail for 20 years for each of these counts.
Yeah.
Now, do you know who Jonathan Turley is, John?
I've heard the name. Refresh my memory.
Okay, so Jonathan Turley is a law professor, and he is a constitutional scholar. He said that the optics of a judge letting this trial proceed during the campaign would have the judge being seen as someone who was trying to interfere with the election. So Turley opines that this trial is not going to happen during the campaign because Trump would not be allowed to Remember, he's innocent until proven guilty.
That's right.
And he's a private citizen running for president. So he's got to be allowed to campaign. He's got to be able to leave the state, to travel around the country. They can't shut him down. They can't prevent him from traveling, going from state to state during the campaign, because that would be seen as interference in an election.
Right.
So this trial will not happen until after the election. So here's the thing, John. Ultimately, the jury is not going to be 12 people who are impaneled. The ultimate jury is going to be the American people.
That's right.
And if they elect Donald Trump will be the president before this trial happens. And even if a jury in Miami finds him guilty, which most likely they would not, because they love Trump in Florida.
Oh yeah,
especially Southern.
Yeah.
Okay, so if Trump is found guilty, he will be president by that time, and he will simply pardon himself.
Yeah. That's a good analysis. That's a good. Andy, I got to run. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Talk for the purposes of the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. I will get to this AM radio thing, and I want to also talk about in this hour, wait till you hear what New Jersey is doing. Uncle Phil is really, he's really doing it. He's trying to make this the California of the East. We'll talk about that as well. Chris in Summers Point. Chris, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hi, good morning, John. Thanks for taking my phone call.
Thanks for calling, Chris.
There's a couple of points I want to make. With the thing with Jack Smith, like he gets up there. To me, he gives all these lawyers the good lawyers a bad name, because he gets up there, he makes this pompous statement like, "Oh, we got to, go after the same law for President Trump as everyone else, and 37 bogus counts, and so he sets to safeguard the national security of the country, right?
Yeah.
But yet, it's not safeguarding national security when it comes to Joe Biden, all the documents he has, Mike Pence, Hillary Clinton. We can go down the list, but we're not safeguarding there. Though. Nothing to see here. Okay. So and then don't forget the 7 million illegals or the gotaways that got in the country in how many last few years?
Yeah.
That's not safeguarding the country either, right?
No.
But that's one point. The other point I want to make is yesterday morning on another radio show, I heard County Executive Dennis Levinson was breaking down, and I actually think Chris Christie's a smart guy. I never really trust him, but I think he's a smart man. He's not stupid. But he recalled my memory on a lot of the crooked things he did while he was governor for 2 terms in Jersey. And one of the mistakes that Trump made, and I like President Trump, don't get me wrong, I'm a big supporter, but one of the mistakes he made was he could be his own worst enemy. And the thing he made was that they brought out was when he had the chance to turn around the Justice Department, like Seth Grossman said, with James Comey. Well, he appointed Christopher Wray. Now, if you follow the path of Christopher Wray, he was Chris Christie's lawyer during Bridgegate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that came out. So why the heck would you appoint that guy, right? And Chris Christie recommended him. Okay, so normally when these people get in to be president, they have a bunch of people advise them, not just one person. And Chris Christie probably wasn't the best person to be your advisor at that time, because you see how much of a disaster Chris Wray has turned out.
Yeah, that's right.
Weaponizing the justice system, right?
Yeah, that's right. No, that's right. Yeah, in a way, I think Christie was doing that because at a certain point he realized that he wasn't going to get anywhere in the Trump administration. So he was an advisor. Oh, yeah, pick this guy, pick that guy. And they were all bad picks. So I think he tried to sabotage the Trump administration. Really?
Yeah, he did. And see, Trump hurt himself there because he made a lot of bad choices, especially that first Secretary of State. He did pretty well with Pompeo, but not the first one. Yeah. And I exactly what you're saying, John. Like, because I think he sabotaged him. He tried to pick this guy, pick that guy, and then in the end they were all bad picks, and you saw what happened. Yeah, that's right. So, he really could have helped himself, but he didn't, and that's just the point I wanted to make there, and that's where he screwed himself.
That's right. Chris, thanks for the call. Marty in Tuckerton. Marty, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
My goodness. I mean, I see all the pictures of all the boxes on the Mar-a-Lago, the ballroom stage, in the bathroom, right? Have you seen these?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. He has them in the shower, anywhere where anyone could see him.
Okay.
And did you see all the boxes?
Yeah, I saw them. Yeah.
My goodness. And he was going to, remember he told us he was going to prosecute anybody that took classified information and just haphazardly handled them. Would that be haphazardly handling them?
I don't think so.
No, you wouldn't, would you?
No.
Boy, but you would let your kid go out and steal and say, "Hey, Johnny, did you steal?" He said, "No, they're mine."
Well, that's a stretch.
You morons keep backing Trump, but I'm glad you do. You are friggin' morons. And Trump's going to take you down the rabbit hole of losing by 15 million votes.
Okay.
And you morons don't see it. You morons don't see it. Remember your wife told you you're a moron. Remember you told me that on the air a few weeks ago.
Maybe
Remember
I did.
That? Yeah.
Well, maybe I did,
You're cuckoo ka-choo. You friggin' dope.
Did that make the air? No. Okay. Well, let's put it this way. He said something he shouldn't have said. So, but we have noticed he's Marty today. He was Frank. Then he was something else. Mm-hmm. So there's one in every crowd. All right. So he adds a little levity to the show. What can I tell you? Okay, let's get back to normal. John in Ocean City. John, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Oh, golly, I'm going to have a hard time following that mental midget.
That's right.
Baby, super genius, my baby. Yeah. There's something called stratospheric aerosolic injections that are going on in the upper atmosphere. That's all right, when you see planes flying above and you see a contrail that comes out of the back end of the plane, they're water vapors. They dissipate right away, but the aerosolic injection lasts you'll see a long stream of foam. What that's made out of is strontium, barium, and aluminum. They're metal particles that actually are being sprayed out in the stratosphere to cool the atmosphere, to cool the Earth, they're saying. But actually, the thermosphere is already cooling anyway. That's above the ionosphere. That's already cooling anyway. That's probably due to greenhouse gases. Now, Seth Grossman has said develop nuclear energy. That does not affect greenhouse. That does not contribute to the greenhouse gases, okay? And also hydroelectricity, right? So actually, it was Bernard J. Eastman and William C. Gall that invented the fusion torch, which is the proper use of nuclear energy in the form of nuclear plasma, and also was the great and brilliant mind of Nikola Tesla that invented hydroelectricity. So we should be utilizing those things instead of this moronic idea of super genius, my baby, super genius idea of putting out wind farms out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah. And the Russians have already promised to take them out anyway.
Yeah.
The Russians backed out of the New START treaty. They're not going to hold back from taking those wind farms out, man.
That's right.
Are you kidding me?
That's right.
Yeah, these people are super geniuses. They scare me. They're patsad. They're patsad and stunad. They're unbelievably crazy and mind-blowingly stupid, okay? Like your last caller. He's patsad and stunad. He's a mixture. But anyway, oh my gosh, you have to put up with some crap.
Well, anyway, wait a minute. He's going to say I called him that, but you called him that. So let's keep the record straight. Who called who what?
the tinfoil hat wearing kook in Ocean City said it. Anyway, the only person talking about stratospheric aerosolic injections is Bobby Kennedy. And Bobby Kennedy is also an anti-vaxxer. Another thing I love about him, he's also a John Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy. His father, Robert Francis Kennedy, he's that type of Democrat. I like that too. I like he wants to play hardball with the communist China. I like that too. I dig his act, man. I really do. I really like the man. Now the problem is that he's not accepted by the Democrat establishment. He's not. He can't run. He's not going to win. He won't win. They don't want him. He'll make changes for the better, so they can't have him. But I'm just wondering if the shadow government will not manipulate things from behind the scenes and force his hand to become an independent. That would be bad for us because we need the independents voting. The infighting has to stop. The mudslinging has to stop, and Republicans have to understand that these Democrats, they're cutthroat. They play cutthroat politics. They're not gentlemen at all. We have to fight fire with fire. Thanks for letting me call in a second time.
Thanks, John. Thanks for the call. Just to set the record straight, John called him a dope. Okay. We got to get this thing straightened out here. Who called what who? All right. Talk with the purpose of the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have your company today here on the show. Whether they curse or not. We cut that out, so you can't curse. Quick Fingers Coleman is at the controls. We'll come back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment, but first, I want to talk to you about one of the finest automobiles on the market today, Lexus, courtesy of Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And there's all kinds of vehicles for all kinds of drivers. Me, I like the nice, smooth, quiet ride, so I have the Lexus ES350. There are the sports cars. There are the SUVs, which I tell you, I'm going to get into an SUV, the next car. But that's another story. I'll tell you more about it as we get closer to my lease being up. But Lexus is just a quality vehicle. That's what I can say about it. I mean, if you take into consideration, all right, I'll tell you a story. So a friend of mine drives a 21 Brand X, and I drive a 21 Lexus ES350. Her service has been service after service after service, and she said a couple weeks ago, well, I don't know what this thing is wrong with my car. It's got some kind of a brake thing, and then they put something else in there. Well, you know the story goes on and on and on. Well, I haven't had that, and I've got a lot of miles on my car. So, it just goes to show you there's really nothing, maybe there are exceptions, but most of the time there's nothing that goes wrong with these cars. I mean, you can drive them for 200, 300,000 miles or more. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT. Online, aclexus.com, aclexus.com. It's a beautiful day, and if you're not going to the beach, you want to go over and test drive a beautiful Lexus, courtesy of Lexus of Atlantic City. Go ahead, and you will find what I've been talking about all these years, that it's the truth. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT, and again, online at aclexus.com. Coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
I'm Seth Grossman for LibertyAndProsperity.com. Traffic backs up a lot on Atlantic Avenue in Margate and West Avenue in Ocean City these days. These streets now have only one lane of traffic in each direction instead of two. Woke Democrats in Washington and Trenton call this a road diet. They bribe towns to do this by paying for new streets. They want to punish people who use cars. They hate when Americans are free to drive where and when they want. They want us to live like we're in China. This is against our Constitution. But who complains when somebody else pays for something we want? That's why our federal government is now $31,000 billion in debt. Our dollar has less value each day. Learn the details and what we can do about it. Visit libertyandprosperity.com. Help us reach more people. Join our weekly breakfast. Donate what you can to keep us on the air and online. libertyandprosperity.com.
It's all good, very good. The Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, in conjunction with AMI Atlanticare, presents the 37th Annual Red, White, and Blueberry Festival, Sunday, June 25th in Hamilton, the blueberry capital of the world. You want blueberries? They have millions of them, fresh from the farm, plus pies, cupcakes, cannoli, buckle, ice cream, and more. Live music from Stealing Savannah and party with DJ Nikki G. Great food, crafters, kiddie rides, and the Cruisin' Classic Car Show. Sunday, June 25th, Hamilton High School grounds, just off Route 30 in Hamilton. Free admission. Follow signs to free festival parking. The Red, White, and Blueberry Festival, brought to you in part by AMI Atlanticare, NJM Insurance Group, Rothman Orthopedics, Truist Bank, and Serve Protein Fabiani. And also by...
Oh, it's my turn. Brown and McCarthy Insurance Agencies, Glossy Fruit Farms, Hamilton Gazette, and the Jersey Shore Federal Credit Union. Supported in part by a grant from the New Jersey Department of State, Division of Travel and Tourism. It's all good, very good. Oh, here I go again. I follow myself. Hey, we do what we have to do here on the show. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Let's talk to Bob in Cape May. Bob, good morning. Welcome back.
Hey, John. John, I wish, I could go back in time and that dope, I guess his name was Marty from Ocean City.
Yeah.
I wish Marty would have been able to call my hero in talk radio, and that is the great Bob Grant, whose real name was Bob Gigante, a great Italian-American, the father of talk radio. Now, Bob... if a dope like Marty called in,
he would have destroyed him.
Ultimately, would have done. He would have said, "Get off my phone, you!" And he would use an expletive. But anyway, he get off my phone, and then he'd say, if I ever see you, I'm going to punch your teeth right down your throat. And Bob was a friend of mine. He was a terrific guy, let me tell you, and he'd be turning in his grave if he could see what's going on now. But we're the dopes. Okay, we are the dopes, but our guy, President Trump. Okay, what did he have here? Okay, we had a border that was under control. The smart guy, Marty, in Ocean City, well, his guy has complete open borders. We had foreign policy moves, policies that were working. We had peace around the world. What did Biden do? Well, the Afghanistan catastrophe is a great example of what Biden did, and the Ukraine-Russia situation is another example. We've got gas prices doubled again with his guy. Our guy had a great economy.
Yes.
Real wages were going up. Families, middle-class families, their incomes went up by almost $4,000 under Trump. That was double what went on, what the rise was under Bush and Obama.
Oh, and by the way, Bob, you didn't mention that the blacks and Hispanics had the highest rate of employment ever under Donald Trump.
Correct. Good. I'm glad you brought that up. Absolutely. But again, we're the dopes.
Yeah,
that's fine. And look, let me give you the background. This is why Chris Christie. This is why he was motivated to torpedo Trump. Now, Christie came out, was one of the earliest supporters of Trump. They had that press conference where the media was shocked. Christie came on and endorsed Trump. So Christie thought Trump owed him something. Problem was that when the campaign was in its latter days, the Access Hollywood tape came out where we thought the Trump campaign was torpedoed. That's where Trump was caught on tape saying he touched women's private parts because he was so, famous. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember. I remember.
And all the bigwigs in the Republican Party were calling for Trump to withdraw, let Pence lose to Hillary. Okay, so what happened was that weekend, all the Trump people were going out on a plane to campaign. After that came out, and Steve Bannon told all these people, including Chris Christie, if you don't get on the plane, you are not going to get any appointment if we win. What did Christie do? He didn't get on the plane.
Yeah.
So that's why Christie didn't get the Attorney General's position. He thought that was guaranteed to him. So that's why Christie has been trying to stab Trump in the back for all this time.
That's right.
That's the long and short of it.
Yeah. That's typical Christie. I mean, that's typical.
Well, it's all about Chris Christie.
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't about growing a Republican Party in New Jersey. It wasn't about when he had the political capital to change the structural situation in New Jersey, to put a halt on the spending. And I know you're going to get into it with Murphy. We could have done some really great things under Christie, where we had, guy won 60% of the vote, but he didn't bring any he had no coattails. He didn't really want to campaign for other Republicans.
No. He's very selfish. He really is very selfish. And all the points you brought up, right on the money. Right on the money,
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. So Bob,
John.
Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate it. So let me just get to this before I get to Linda. So they're trying to do away with, or automakers have asked Congress to ditch AM radio. Bipartisan lawmakers are considering requiring automakers to keep AM radio in all new vehicles. This is because Tesla and those that are making electric vehicles are eliminating the frequency from the electric vehicles because battery motors interfere with signals. During a House Energy and Commerce Subcommittee hearing Tuesday, the lobbying arm of the U.S. auto industry asked lawmakers not to do that, saying that plenty of technology is available to transmit safety messages, and that mandates could hamper future innovation. Let me explain to you. Years ago, there were several what they call AM clear channel radio, and they are still in existence today. And the theory was that in a national emergency, those clear channel AM radios would cover the entire country. So there would be one in Boston, one in New York, one in Philadelphia, one in Washington, and then in the Midwest, one in Chicago, one in St. Louis, and on the West Coast eventually. So that was the theory. And so in a national emergency, AM radios were valuable. And should there be a case of that again, they would be, okay? So, but then Ford said they were going to do away with it. But then CEO Jim Farley announced the company would reverse its April decision to eliminate AM radio in new models beginning next year. So the AM radios are here to stay for now, okay? That's why we should keep AM radio. You agree, Chris? Yes. AM radio is definitely a necessity. And not because we're on AM, but it's just a thing that should not be eliminated. That's all. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We'll talk to Linda and we'll talk to Greg and maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. More Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
The market is up. The market is down. I know from day to day, there's a fair amount of volatility. You worry, I worry. We all worry, but not so much when you have a sound financial plan that doesn't depend completely on the market. Hi, I'm Joe Yakovich with this Money Minute. You'll find some real insights in my new book, The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In this book, I explain in detail how I approach financial planning, retirement, insurance, and many other topics. For a free copy of my book, The Heart of Your Money, simply contact my office at 856 856-751-1771. That's 856-751-1771. Or you can email me at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. I'm Joe Yakovich with This Money Minute, and thanks for listening.
You wouldn't think that BF Mazzio is the place to go for dads and grads. Think again. Let's start with those fabulous gift baskets, perfect for dad. And for the grads in your life, of course, you'll want to have a party catered by BF Mazzio. Where else? Shop online at bfmazzio.com or stop in and place your order. And there's the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere. And now featuring locally grown fruit and produce. BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield. And online at bfmazzio.com.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. This afternoon, partly sunny, high 85. Stars will be out under a mainly clear sky tonight. Grab a jacket, lows dipping to 57. Partly sunny and hot tomorrow, high 90. Beneficial rain is on its way, my friend. Mostly cloudy Monday, breezy and humid, not as hot with a couple of heavy thunderstorms in the afternoon. Could bring hail and damaging winds, high 83 on Monday. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose. If you missed any of today's show, we remind you that it is repeated. The Talk with a Purpose replay every Sunday, 5 until 8, right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. So if you missed it today or you liked it and you want to hear it again, sure. 5 until 8 tomorrow, Sunday, the Talk with a Purpose replay right here, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Let's talk to Linda in Absecon. Linda, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
John.
Yes.
Have I told you I look forward to your show?
Yes.
I mean, I really look forward
Thank
to
you.
your show.
Thank you.
And to all my friends out there, those callers are awesome. So, but I like how you handled yourself with the caller of many names, I think.
Yeah, I think
really impressed. Really. And to him, I would say, don't name call. Just improve your argument. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Well,
that's what Republicans usually do.
Yeah. Well,
and sometimes we go down that lane, but for the most of the time, we try to avoid it.
Yeah.
And do a very, very good job at it.
Yeah.
And Bob Progner, my friend Bob Progner, you convinced me. I'm going to vote for Trump. You made the argument for me. but I get you, Bob. I do. I get you. And but this is bad. This is criminal. What they're doing to this president.
It is.
You know, no human being. No, I can't. I'm telling you, and it bears repeating. I say it a lot. You know, but God, this would kill any other human being, and it is criminal what they have done to this man. And if nothing else, conservatives. No, we get what he went through, not from when he became president and when the Washington Post said impeachment begins when he was giving the inauguration, but from the time he went down the escalator where they were wiring Trump Tower. And it hasn't stopped.
No, it hasn't.
It's torturous. And had it not been for Rush Limbaugh telling him, I'll paraphrase it, get out of Washington and get back to your base, get back to the people. And he did, and the people fell in love with him. And he delivered 6 ways from Sunday. Not the way the Democrats planned on operating, because we had Senator Schumer telling us that the intel community can get you 6 ways from Sunday. Folks, do you think they got him 6 ways from Sunday? How many times have they got him? This is horrible.
Yeah, well, this is upping their game, you know.
Oh.
They upped their game because this is an indictment. So, you know.
People would die from this, from what they're doing to this. They would have strokes, heart attacks, whatever.
Yeah.
But God, I don't know how he is standing on his feet.
I don't either.
And I love him for loving America. I love him when he walked out and he hugged the flag. I didn't see anything like that. I don't see that with many Republicans and probably most Democrats, or all, if not all Democrats in Washington.
Yeah.
And so That's all I wanted to say.
Linda, thank you for the call. Appreciate it, as always. Greg and Apseek, and Greg, good morning. Welcome back.
Mr. Domasic, thank you. Good morning. I just wanted to touch on AI for a minute.
Okay.
As we become very concerned with the development of this creature or thing or machine, whatever the hell it is, that's going to be, they're actually thinking out loud at this point and solving problems amongst themselves.
Yeah.
One good exercise that could take place, put them in space, 6 of them in a space capsule with, 4 computers.
Yeah.
And see how they interact. It's 2 had a good time.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about 4 and maybe 6 and 4 computers, how that conversation would take place. And the instructions to them would be, take it out there.
Yeah.
You go where you want to go. Because wherever they go, we have never, nor will we ever be able to do what they can do.
Yeah, that's right.
They can walk in any environment, just about.
It's like the Invisible Man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's an opportunity we have. It gives us some insight into how they're going to truly develop. Because the bottom line of it all, we're watching the evolution of man. Whether we like it or not, it's going to happen.
That's right.
And the bottom line of that is we will become expendable. We'll become antiques.
Well, we probably won't see this in our lifetime, Greg.
Oh, no, not in the right...
No.
But
so that's
the reality of it. I mean, somebody has created a machine that thinks. And then they'll give him X number of information between different machines, and they will solve the problem and create a direction to take.
That's right.
It's unheard of.
Yeah.
Now, it's a machine doing it. I mean, it's not like somebody's prompting them what to do.
Yeah.
They're doing it on their own.
Yeah. Do we have that Twilight Zone music somewhere?
That's where we're headed. We're going to end up in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, that's right. Greg, thanks for the call. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Oh, I want to get to this New Jersey story, and I will. I promise you, before Joe Yakovich comes in and disrupts the show. Al in Corbin City. Al, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, good. I just was thinking about the 2 governors that we've had that were Republicans. I'm a conservative, staunch conservative. And we had Christie, and then we had Mrs. Whitman, right?
Yeah.
Who dipped in because there was a extra money in the pension plan to pay for her pet project, which was bicycle paths.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't ever know if the bridge case was, or bridge gate or whatever the hell that was called, was real or not.
It was real. It was real. In fact,
I mean, as far as whether he actually ordered somebody to do it.
He did. He did. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
You think he did?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I didn't give him that much credit.
Yeah. I mean, well, he's a vindictive he's a vindictive person. He really is. And
I can see that what he just did with Trump, which is just nonsense.
Yeah.
And that being said, I said it to you last week. I don't believe these people have the brains that God gave geese, because you don't do the stuff that you do and expect to become president. I mean, and you know, and I'll give you a perfect example why I like Florida and can't wait to move there. Is down in Florida, you're not allowed to smoke, just like in Jersey. Do you know how that happened?
No.
They put it on the ballot. The people voted for it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good.
Major decisions for this state, they put it on the ballot and let the people that pay the bills, the taxpayers, who pay for their livings, to make the decision, not themselves, especially on a major thing like putting smoking out. Not that I think it was a wrong thing to do, but the state of New Jersey does not do that.
No.
That's examples. Nobody wants these windmills. Not anybody wants these windmills. But they're pushing it anyway because they're more connected to the federal government than they are to the people of the state of New Jersey.
That's right.
That's all I have to say. Have a wonderful day.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Al. Thanks for the call. Christie is a vindictive guy, I tell you. I mean, now he won't be on ABC anymore because he's a candidate. But that's all he's done is, he has bashed Trump every week. I do watch that on occasion, and he just bashes Trump one after the other every week. So I'm not surprised. Mario and EHC. Mario, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose. And do we have Mario? Is he there? Okay. Well, Mario, if you want to call back, feel free. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. Perfect time to, speaking of New Jersey. Oh, boy. Legislators are taking steps in New Jersey to discourage public schools and libraries from banning books by, you ready for this? Withholding state aid from those who don't comply. This is a Phil Murphy special. A bill proposed recently by two Democratic lawmakers could make the state one of the first in the country to consider a measure that would bar school boards and public libraries from restricting or banning access to certain books. State Representative Andrew Zwicker, he's a Democrat, said, "I wish we didn't have to do this. It's really discouraging to see the number of attempts going on in New Jersey and around the country." In 2022, there were 1,269 demands, and this is around the country. This is not just New Jersey, to censor library books and resources nationwide. That is the most attempted book bans since the American Library Association's Office for Intellectual Freedom began compiling such stats 20 years ago. There were 729 challenges reported in 2021. In New Jersey, there were 13. So in other words, here's one of the books. This is called The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, and she's a famous author. And the other one is called Gender Queer, which chronicles the author's sexual identity journey. That's a book that I would want my kid to read in 4th grade, wouldn't you? And that's the thing. So in other words, in New Jersey, if your district or your school district or whatever bans any of those books or any others from the library, you will not get funding. Talk about reverse bribery. That's what it is. Only in New Jersey, and only under the administration of good old Uncle Governor Phil Murphy. Not my uncle. Oh, Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We'll wrap up hour number 2. We'll talk to Ginny, and we'll talk to DJ, and maybe we'll talk to you before we get to Joe Yakovich, who is warming up in the bullpen. He's chomping at the bit. He wants to come on early. No, we're not going to let him. 11 o'clock he's on, okay? I'm John DeMasi. More Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
Joe Yakovich is registered with, and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
It's all good, very good. The Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, in conjunction with AMI Atlanticare, presents the 37th Annual Red, White, and Blueberry Festival, Sunday, June 25th in Hamilton, the blueberry capital of the world. You want blueberries? They have millions of them, fresh from the farm, plus pies, cupcakes, cannoli, buckle, ice cream, and more. Live music from Stealing Savannah and party with DJ Nikki G. Great food, crafters, kiddie rides, and the Cruisin' Classic Car Show, Sunday, June 25th, Hamilton High School grounds, just off Route 30 in Hamilton. Free admission. Follow signs to free festival parking. The Red, White, and Blueberry Festival, brought to you in part by AMI Atlanticare, NJM Insurance Group, Rothman Orthopedics, Truist Bank, and Servpro Team Fabiani. And also by
Kelly Loader Travel, Kramer Beverage, McCree Brothers Blueberry Farm, Menino's Cannoli Express, and Ocean First Bank. Supported in part by a grant from the New Jersey Department of State, Division of Travel and Tourism. It's all good, very good. I did it again, following myself. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. If you want to listen to any of our shows at any time, all you do is Google John DeMasi Podcast and they all come up. So that's your assignment for the week, all right? Let's talk to Ginny in Absecon. Ginny, good morning. Welcome.
Thank you. I agree 110% with my dear friend Linda. I agree with almost all of your callers except when they bash Trump. Name me one president who accomplished more than Donald J. Trump. Name me one president who has kept his promises unless anyone got in his way, like, the Congress or the House.
Yeah.
He has done everything he said he was going to do. He keeps his word. I believe him. I believe in him. And I think he has the strength and the business gut instinct to save our nation.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say.
I think he does.
Every day, Joe Biden shows us what a nasty, mean, cruel, non-patriot he is. He's not a patriot at all.
No.
He hates the country. He hates the people in it. And all he did was use the American people as a stepping stone to do exactly what he wanted. He's been planning this since the 70s. I never thought he was good old nice Uncle Joe. Never, ever.
No.
I don't trust that sneer. I don't trust him at all. I wouldn't trust anyone in his family as far as I could throw him. And here's something that I think is terrible. Mrs. Roberts had his daughter, his seventh child, and the Bidens are not acknowledging her. I hope they have to pay that child $1 million as well, don't you?
Yeah. Why don't you refresh our memory on that child? What's the specifics on that?
The specifics are she's 4 years old. Hunter Biden impregnated a stripper. And, the child was born. DNA testing proves that Hunter Biden is absolutely, unequivocally the father of that child. He's paying something like $10,000 a month child support, but she wants more, and she's entitled to more. Good for her.
Yeah.
But I hope she gets the $1 million bundle that all the rest of Joe Biden's grandchildren have gotten, and she should be allowed to use the name Biden, which they have blocked. That's not that little girl's fault.
No. So they don't acknowledge that she's a Biden.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well.
But he's paying child support.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey, listen, with DNA, you pay.
Yeah, that's right. That doesn't, but it really doesn't surprise me, Ginny. Because, I mean, the Bidens, they're all about the Bidens. I mean, they've proven it. Do you know, since 1972, Joe Biden has been on the government payroll. And
of course.
He hasn't missed a beat. He hasn't. And now look at all those years. Wouldn't you like to be on the government's payroll for all those years? And a lot of money.
Of course.
And a lot of perks.
And a lot of perks. I read Miranda Devine's book, which I think everyone should read.
I read it too.
He got breaks how about the breaks he got from banks to buy homes?
Yeah.
And anything else he wanted.
Oh, yeah. Sure. He's
a thief, crook, and a liar. The biggest charlatan ever.
That's right.
I mean, absolutely horrendous. And, I really kind of like RFK Jr. I like what he's coming out and saying. I hope he can knock Biden out of the box.
Yeah.
I wish he does. I just hope he does.
Anybody can knock him out of the box. Ginny, thanks for the call. DJ in Summers Point, welcome to the show.
Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Listen to your show all the time, but today you made a big mistake.
I did?
Yeah, broadcasters sometimes do this, and I'll refresh your memory. You never, ever let a squirrel into your home to run amok, and you never let a squirrel call into your talk show.
Yeah, well, you know what?
You're in charge.
Yeah.
You are in charge of the squirrels.
Well, you know what he does, DJ? I'll tell you, he's slick. He uses a different name every week. So,
yeah, I've heard him over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. He was Marty today. He was Frank before. He was somebody else before. So he's used 4 different names. So,
and probably on Sundays he listens to the podcast and gets off. What can I say?
Yeah, yeah. So you're right. I never let a squirrel into your home, and I will keep that in mind. But you see, I don't answer the phone, so we have to kind of get. But see, he thought he was slick himself because he got cut off. He thought he was on, but he got cut off at a certain point. So, we got him at the end.
And the thing is, he was running down everything with Trump and the locations and Trump's Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
But he failed to mention, that wouldn't make President Trump have it in one location. But he failed to mention that Biden had documents in 3 locations.
Yes, he did. Yes, that's right. That's right.
Hey, all I can tell you is if this thing ends up going to trial and all that stuff, number one person on the witness list for the defense would be President Joe Biden. And the first question, because they're not probably going to do something.
Yeah.
President Biden, how many times were you found to have documents in your possession?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's
how
right.
How many locations, Mr. President?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. 3 locations. DJ, thanks for the call. We are up against it, unfortunately. Talk with the Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Hour number 2 in the books. Hour number 3, the Joe Yakovich Hour. On the way. Don't go away.
95.5 FM and 1450 AM WPGG Atlantic City. WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square Media station. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now, the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 3, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. This is the Joe Yakovich Hour, where I take a back seat and let Joe really tell us what it is we need to know to get our finances in order. Is that right?
Thank you, John. That's a mouthful, and considering what I've been listening to for the last, not only the last 2 hours of your show, and you had some great, people on. I'm telling you, well versed, well educated. And a lot of things that they've been saying, I've been agreeing with. The biggest thing I'm really strained before I get into the money part, which we'll obviously go into detail. You know what? I remember, and I don't want to tell you how old I am, but it's,
well, you're almost as old as me.
Correct.
Let's put it that way.
I'm over 60 years old, and
All
I've
right.
been in the business for 40 years, 40. So I've seen a lot of things. I'm very proactive. I'm involved with a lot of different situations, clubs. I just did a police and firemen meeting with them on their monthly meeting, or they're monthly, and I do a quarterly conversation with. Had a great group of guys, 40 of them. Tom Foley was in the group, and also Ron DiGiovanni was the head up person in the group that allows me to come in and talk to his people. But the real focus, John, and what I do, it's almost sad, because I remember years ago, I don't care how many stations you had, but you had the same stuff on each station evaluating, what took place.
Yeah.
And you have right now, I must say, and for the listening audience, you have an outfit on that I'm only going to take pictures of so I can put in my office, because you got a Phillies shirt on, you got sneakers that say Philly, you got socks, I'm wondering what your underwear might look like. But
No.
That's another conversation. But what I'm saying to you, John, if you watch, and I'll use this as a sports analogy, if you watch whatever sports channel you watch, ESPN or ABC or NBC, whatever, you normally you hear the same story. Ninth inning, boom, hit the park, error, or you hit a single and they got to the second, boom, they won the game. You hear the same thing, correct?
Yes.
In sports.
Yes.
What am I missing in the political arena that will disturb people and make them afraid and uncomfortable and unaware, because you don't know and what to believe of what you see? And you actually, some of them, listeners today, they don't even believe what they're seeing, because they can see, they're smart enough to see what's going on. If we're an equal playing field where this information that we're sharing today was on all the major networks, the game would change.
Yeah.
Unbelievably.
Yeah.
And I can see that in what I do with investments. You just can't give certain pieces of information out on investments to one station or one social media campaign and not do it with all the same leverage. Like right now, we were talking before we got on about AI. Artificial intelligence. It's starting to creep into all our lives, and in indexing and investing, I'm going to touch on it a little bit on how it's starting to affect and what we should do and be aware of how indexing works. So, but today I'm going to give you, and you're going to open up with some stuff.
Before we get to that.
Go ahead, buddy.
Okay.
I'm here for you.
You told me last week that it was your wife's birthday.
Correct.
And you got her a gift.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know that gift was good enough.
No.
So, let me
tell you what.
When are you going to up your game?
Let me tell you what she did. And she asked me. I got her a trinket in a jewelry store. They didn't want to, but she has all the things that she wants, and I had fun with her that day, and we went out to dinner. But she says, you know what I want? Real simple woman. She says, I want to make sure when we have the next, affair, which is this week actually, because everybody couldn't get together, we're having a birthday party for about 14 people that will come to a destination.
Okay.
And we're all getting together, moms included, the kids and what have you, to wish her happy birthday. That's what she wants. She's a simple woman that wants simple things, and family is the number one priority in her life. And I couldn't be more happier. The fact I hear that, and she's really, she's very proactive into doing that. So you need to.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure you were giving her a gift commensurate with what she does for you.
Every day.
Okay?
Every day.
Let's face it. Somebody's got to fight for her.
Well, I'm going to say, I don't know if you know this, John, and I'm not, again, patting myself on the back, but probably once a month. And my wife would call in if she called me a liar. At least once a month, I would bring her flowers. To me, it's just say, hey, thank you very much for being part of what we do. And even today, she said, Joe, do you want me to be on this appointment? Because the woman that we're talking to, a couple, you might to get me to speak with her in a way that maybe you're not saying, because she's maybe not getting what I said, absolutely, you're more than happy to come in. So she does quite a bit of that with me, with women. It really helps out quite a bit.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Talk for the purposes of the show. Saturdays, 9 to noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. It is the Joe Yakovich Hour. And Joe is going to tell us why investment risk is so important. Why?
Well, John, there's so much going on today with money managers, and more than just fiscal philosophy to deliver reality checks and planning to help people live the best life possible with the money they have. There's more things happening today. I call it the ROL, the return on life. Things like market risk, interest rate risk. Now, interest rates, think about it, went from 0% 15 months ago. We're over close to 7%, 6.5%, 7% mortgages today. Liquidity risk, sequels of return, not running out of money that we talk to people about quite a bit. With inflation, we talked about this, John, you and I, probably 15 months ago, inflation.
Yeah.
Where would inflation be, and how is it starting to creep into our everyday lives? Tax risk, again, I'm able to, because there's a window here with tax strategy planning because of the Roth IRA conversion. And not to be a burden on your family. People in general don't think about that. The people I talk to today, I mention it almost up front how important it is not only to run out of money and lower taxes, but also not to be a burden on your family. How do you do that? What do you do? How do you incorporate all these things that are happening? And more importantly of everything, John, because of Americans are living longer, and changing the nature of retirement planning has changed. It's almost longevity planning. Now think about it, John. Roughly 50% of Americans who are 65 and older today, healthy. Now think about what I'm saying, couple. 50% chance that one will make it to 85 years of age. We're talking another 8,000 days on the planet after 65. So they have to consider Social Security, which I talked to, when to take it, when not to take it. Do you postpone it? Working side gigs. Actually working, doing something productive. Not if you're working out in outside and putting a stake in the ground. That's one thing, but being able to do some side gigs.
Like doing a radio show?
Or doing a radio show would be a side gig. Because of the Secure Act 2.0, the changes that are making you need to keep up with these things. And before 30, 40 years ago, it wasn't the case. You got a pension, Social Security, and you rode into the wind. Changing a light bulb. Now you think, how much is that a concern of yours, John? Let me rephrase this. Think about it for a second. What you used to have and what you used to do. Do you remember you used to jump up on a chair and just grab the light bulb, unscrew it, and put a new one in?
Yeah.
Today, you don't jump up on a chair. And now you're thinking to yourself, holy moly, what if I fall off this chair? What if I wobble?
Yeah.
Now think about it. If it's I'm going to use both sides, men and women, divorced, separated, single, whatever. Do you find somebody 65 or 70 years old, give or take, jumping up on a chair, changing a light bulb to do maintenance on their own house? There's starting to be a concern of that. You fall off, man, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And you do not want to go into the hospital,
Yes,
that's for
right.
sure. So when we're dealing with retirement planning, John, to look at it from the angle that I'm looking at, you need to be aware of all their surroundings. And that is going to be a major surrounding because of longevity. People live a lot longer today.
Yeah.
And the concern is, for most of us, do you have enough money to live the lifestyle that you're accustomed to?
I know you often talk about this, about the debt that the country faces. How do you feel about the debt affecting us, like the everyday person?
Well, most people are now starting to realize we are close to and over $32 trillion in debt. That affects things that we have been promised, like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Now, if you think about it, John, $32 trillion of debt at 1%, just to cover that debt cost is about $320 billion. But when you start to increase the interest rates, John, like we're having and we're seeing now at 5%, that's 1.5, you ready for this? Trillion of just to cover the interest on the debt. Now, if you think about what's going on, and I'm not what president or what Fed, you think these people are supposed to be real smart in what they do, suppressing interest rates for so long. Now you can imagine in the next 5 years or so, you could be looking at $50 trillion at 5%, John. It'd be $2.25 trillion. This will affect future commitment that the government has made to us, like Social Security and Medicare. So don't kid yourself. People that are listening, if you do not plan correctly, and if you're not going down the right pike, and you lose money, or you don't make the money that you think you're going to make, and when you see taxes start to increase, and you start to see your Social Security possibly be cut back because they committed all this to all of us, and then you have a border situation. I mean, I'm not here to scare people, but you need to have a plan in action. I mean, you really do. That's why, John, even with what we talked about, you and I, many, many times, of the books I've written, from Heart of Your Money, from Getting Down the Mountain, from Bulletproof Your Retirement. And then now I'm doing and we have been doing a podcast called Heart of Your Money Podcast. My job is to make sure that you listen and understand and have these type of conversation openly on what your plan of action will be in the future. Because what's happening is we're being squeezed.
Yes, we are.
And our lifestyle is going to change, and people do not like to change lifestyles. No. I'm afraid to tell you that.
They don't.
So you're seeing this, and another thorn in your side. You're now having real estate, commercial real estate, start to crumble. Big commercial pieces of real estate. Those pieces of real estate, John, people don't know this. Those pieces of real estate are in your 401k, in your pension plan. These are starting to put a little bit of crack in the returns that you were thinking you were supposed to get and might not get.
So what do we do?
You're asking a Biden question, right?
Yeah.
Can I just laugh and call myself monarchically, or
what about, I know you wanted to talk about this too, service inflation.
Right.
What is that?
Well, nearly 2/3, John, of consumer spending goes into service inflation. And this is the housing, travel, hotels, and much more. And think about what's happening, John. Because of the COVID and all this free money, you now see travel pick up like no other.
Yeah.
You're seeing that now.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, 2 days ago with the smoke, we had to shut all the airports down. Again,
and people were wearing masks.
Right.
Did you see that? Outdoors, they're wearing masks.
Okay, so you get what I'm saying here. But those costs are starting to increase. And, John, I'll tell you something else that really irks me, because I just got a phone call from one of my doctor friends, and I didn't get even a chance to even speak, believe it or not. He says, I was on the phone for 20 minutes to AI. They did not do what they were supposed to do. I was put on hold by a real person. 10 minutes later, the phone went dead. I had to call back. These are things that are happening. We have a person that is hopefully listening to me today, and I asked him to go to the municipality and get some paperwork because he couldn't get through to the people to make that transfer. It's a nightmare of having people try to get information for themselves. We do that. I mean, it's not an extra cost, but we understand what it takes and what to say to transfer, rollover, whatever it may be with the client. So nobody ever would think of it that way, but I'll put you on the phone to talk to Social Security or try to roll over money, and you do it yourself, and you go, I don't want to do that job. So you understand service inflation is going up more than the traditional cost. And I don't know about you, but I see it everywhere I go, John. It's almost shocking to me. And this is going to impede our retirement for what we're used to living on.
Yeah.
It's going to cut into that. So you need really to have someone come in and put a plan together. I don't care who it may be. It really doesn't. It's irrelevant. I just want to make sure you sit down with somebody that not only has an investment background, but also have an income planning background. So you need those two things, John, because a lot of people in my space are either one or the other.
Yeah.
And what happens is you can do investments with portfolio management, but what happens in the event if you had to go into a facility or have someone come in either in-home or daycare situation?
Yes.
Who pays for that?
Yeah.
Well, those folks are going to say, well, take it out of your portfolio. And if they have a drawback in a portfolio, do you continue to pull money out of a declining market? It's devastation for that person. So you need to have someone in place that will help you grow some of your assets to beat inflation and taxes, but also make sure you have an income strategy that you will never run out of money, pay the least amount to the Internal Revenue Service, and never, and I mean never, to be a burden on your family. That's so critical today more than ever.
And you're going to tell us after the break.
You got it.
The retirement bucket. And then the
bucket. You love the buckets, don't you, baby?
I tell you, man. I like your buckets, though. Your buckets are bigger than mine. So, Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi with Joe Yakovich. As we say, this is the Joe Yakovich Hour. Joe is our financial advisor here on the show, and he has a website called jmlfinancialgroup.com, and we'll tell you all about that and his books and all the great stuff that Joe Yakovich has right after these words.
Joe Yakovich is registered with, and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
You wouldn't think that BF Mazzio is the place to go for dads and grads. Think again. Let's start with those fabulous gift baskets, perfect for dad. And for the grads in your life, of course, you'll want to have a party catered by BF Mazzio. Where else? Shop online at bfmazzio.com or stop in and place your order. And there's the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere. And now featuring locally grown fruit and produce. BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield. And online at bfmazzio.com.
And we are back here on Talk with a Purpose. Joe Yakovich, during the week, he is available at 856-751-1771, 856-751-1771. I'll tell you what you do. When you call that number, you ask for Lynn or Mike. Okay? Joe's good at the financial stuff, but the other stuff,
everybody has a job.
Everybody, right? And then
has a job.
He tells him, well, you have a job, don't you?
You're not running that board, are you?
No, I'm not. He is. Chris is. Okay.
Chris is the board master.
856-751-1771 and his website, jmlfinancialgroup.com, jmlfinancialgroup.com. And we were going to tell you right now, Joe has not one, not two, but 3 books available for you right now. They are called The Heart of Your Money. That's number 1. Bulletproof Your Financial Plan, number 2. And number 3 is, Joe?
You could use either Getting Down the Mountain or Wealth Beyond Taxes. And these Wealth Beyond Taxes are designed, and they're all interchangeable when it comes to that, but for the professional doctor or healthcare professional.
Okay, so what you do is you call the show right now at 609-407-1450 and just give your name, and Joe's office will contact you and mail you out the books.
I haven't actually put an office down here, John. I don't know if you were.
Well, why don't you tell us?
Yeah, I put an office down here up the street from our here on Tilton Road, right behind the Keller Williams building. I put a small office there to meet people because I was finding that we had a lot of folks that wanted to meet with me face to face. And I put a small office on Tilton Road, I think it's 801 Tilton Road, and people can meet me there also. So I have it set up.
Man, I tell you, you cover all the bases, don't you?
I want to make sure I make people. It's got to be convenient because I did a workshop at Stockton University, and the turnout was phenomenal, and I met some great people, and they've been coming in pretty often now.
Okay. All right, so 609-407-1450. Joe's taking calls if you have a question for Joe, a financial type question. 609-407-1450. So explain this and how you have this retirement bucket list and what it does and how it gets you through the retirement period.
Well, John, I want to make it. I don't want to use. I want to use the words that are really appropriate. I want to make it simple for people because money itself is complicated. It's not the money I'm as concerned with. It's everything else around the money that affects the money. So in the first period, during the time you start to do your best to figure out your monthly expenditures, you need to have enough cash to make sure you have, just in case, unexpected expenses that might come up. So if you put your money in the market and all of a sudden you take a little hit, you're going to be less prepared and be more worried about this. So you need to have some money purposely for that and designed for that. That's the first bucket. We call it the green bucket. There's no losses whatsoever. It doesn't give you a big rate of return, but it gives you enough liquidity to be able to use that for any purpose whatsoever. But the next bucket or next period of monies, you'll be looking at between 5 and 7 years, John. This is the bucket that must be good with, solid investments. It could be some bonds, which are fixed income plays and a regular interval. So we want to make sure you have enough income, thanks to interest payments and coupons on the bond if you did take a bond or bond type of fund. But again, this bucket, it has less potential to fluctuate than the stock market. So when you start taking and you're low in cash, you have an option to sell, or you start to use some of these vehicles that we use as an income for the rest of your life, where you do not ever lose any money and you continue to get an income for the rest of your life and never outlive it. And more importantly, if something would happen to you in the interim, that money would go to your beneficiaries.
I saw an ad recently, and it's a full-page ad, and it was touting this bond guide, and your investment future is in bonds, and so on and so forth. And I thought to myself, if I was a regular person who didn't have you around here, I would be thinking, yeah, that might be a good idea. Is it a good idea to put all your eggs in one basket like that?
No. Well, that's exactly it, John. You want to be diversified within your monies and having 3 different buckets. That second bucket, which is a bond type of bucket, will give you that income that you're looking for. And then you can ladder that up accordingly because interest rates, you see what just happened. Just recently, we were up, 5 5%, 6% over the last 15 months. That's not supposed to happen, and what Fed Powell did. So you really need to start to look at income strategies and not put all your eggs in the stock market, because it is a casino today in the stock market. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know. I mean, what we're seeing now, even the two or the number of real estate holdings in commercial real estate, those companies, just to let you know, in terms of stock, they're down between 55 and 78%. That means if you would have purchased a stock, it went up, and all of a sudden it's down to $3 a share, which, you know, what do you do? So there's certain things that are starting to take cracks to, and so people need to be aware of those. But the last bucket, just remember something. This is the environment where you have a culmination of growth in the stock market in terms of long-term growth. But again, what I find, John, when you get into the 50, 60, 70, and later years, you tend to get out of the market a little different. There are some dollars you invest that way, but you have 3 buckets of money to pick and choose from and be diversified. But you need to have someone that's guiding you on when you should be taking that money accordingly. Because again, if you're going into this distribution or exit strategy or income plan, if you take money out of a bucket or a vehicle that's decreasing from market risk, you will run out of money quite rapidly. So you really need someone to have those type of conversations with you up front when you meet with them. And that's what we do.
Okay, I wanted to know, how much do you put in each bucket? I mean, that seems to me to be a key question.
Good question. Great question. The first thing I'll ask the individual after we look at all the things, I'll ask that person or couple, you know, what do you need to live and turn the key in your home every single month? And they'll say, well, I need $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 a month. Whatever that number is, that's the number we're going after. At least we could at least address that dollar amount that we're going to have to take in every single month to live the lifestyle you're accustomed to. Obviously, there's fluff to that with things that, like I talked about earlier, on the first bucket, you need to have some money. So if your roof is leaking or your car needs a set of new tires, whatever, we'll have enough money available for that situation, or take a vacation around the world. Who knows what it may be. But you need to have at least that addressed. Now, think about it. A gentleman came in from the radio, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, and when he sat down with me, good dude, and I asked him how much is his monthly expenditures, and he said $4,000 or $3,000 a month, 35 or whatever. It was close to that. And he said, that's what I'm going to need. And I looked at what he had. He had a pension, which is lucky enough, and he had a Social Security payment. Actually, both of those combined gave him $5,000 a month.
Boy.
So for me to sit down with him, and he heard me on the radio a number of times, he said, well, Joe, all I need is $3,500, and you can see what I need every month. And then he turned around the next page and he had a lot more money, and I asked him a few questions, and he was concerned about preserving that money as long as he could for add-on, and also possibly for an inheritance for his 2 children. So that's what's the conversation we were having. So everyone's a little different, John. Every person I sit down with, it's a custom plan. It's not just cookie cutter, here is what it is and see you buy. It's really custom, even to the point where I'll look at current portfolios and I'll examine those portfolios with fees and costs and tax harvesting and do those things for the client, and they see far away that what we do in terms of income strategy planning is the right way, especially now because the boomers getting ready to retire and living a long time. We want to make sure we cover those costs.
So most of your clients, do they survive this whole mess that we're in now? I mean, talk about that. How do you help them survive?
It's funny. It's not funny, but it is something that it comes up. If we don't address the fact right up front that what you're going to have and take down every month, there's going to be a shortchange of things to come in the future. I mean, let's face it, when you're in your 50s and 60s, if you have to make tweaks and changes to go back to work or do a gig, easy.
No big deal, right?
But when you're 75,
it's a little harder
It's
to
a
do.
little bit more difficult. And if you don't want to get on the chair and try to turn a light bulb, that's even better. So what we want to do is the side gigs are always good for everyone I speak with, to do something part-time to continue to keep you in the game if you don't need it. But we're also concerned with people that are couples when one should pass, and usually the ladies, you're always going to beat us, you outlive us, but the average stay for a male not necessarily in a home or because everybody thinks that long-term care, it's, going to a nursing home. That's not the case. There are actually folks that come into your home called daycare to help you take care of business. But when that first person passes, and usually for the male, it's about 2 to 5 or 2 to 3 years when this occurs. But with women, again, you guys beat us, it's usually 3 to 5 years. Remember what you're going to miss. You're going to miss immediately a Social Security payment that before you were getting 2, now you get 1. So you have to make adjustments accordingly as we grow older in the future. And when you're dealing with inflation, John, like it has been, and that's why I'm a little upset with the current administration forcing this low interest rate environment for a long, long time. And that's what you've seen. And now we're paying the price for it.
Yes.
That's the problem. It's not going away. They're trying to, and believe me when I say this to you, to all of us, we could be looking at a couple new bumps, another 25 basis points back to back. So don't kid yourself. This is not something
not over
sweep
yet,
under the carpet here.
Yeah.
And that will affect or trying to get under control the inflationary number. That's a concern of all of us because we never had this before, unless we remember back in the 70s and 80s when it happened.
Oh, yeah.
But don't forget, though, we were not boomers.
Yeah.
Remember?
We were in the middle of it.
Correct. We were
That's right.
I mean, all this stuff that took place in the 30s and 40s with Social Security and Medicare, this is pre-boomer. They were not boomers yet. Now, when we're in the 70s, we were not boomers. We were just young Turks and doing our stuff. Yeah. By the way, I remember you in the young Turk age, by the way.
I remember you, too.
So
you were a mover and shaker then.
No different than you are now. But my point to the madness is it's the environment's changed.
Yeah.
The terrain has changed.
Yeah.
We need to adapt ourselves to that. And a lot of people think, that it's difficult for them to understand this, but I sit down with you, the client, husband and wife, and I'll spend an hour and a half of just finding out what's important to you. What are you trying to achieve? And find out, number one, what do you need to turn the key in your home, including everything. And that's the number I'm zeroing in on. Everything else is going to be fluff.
That's right. What are the most important areas of financial planning? Don't tell us now. You'll tell us after the break.
You got it.
Joe Yakovich is here. Joe is our financial advisor here on Talk with a Purpose. Every Saturday we're here, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We will come back with more with Joe Yakovich after these words.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. This afternoon, partly sunny, high 85. Stars will be out under a mainly clear sky tonight. Grab a jacket, lows dipping to 57. Partly sunny and hot tomorrow, high 90. Beneficial rain is on its way, my friend. Mostly cloudy Monday, breezy and humid, not as hot with a couple of heavy thunderstorms in the afternoon. Could bring hail and damaging winds, high 83 on Monday. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, Joe Yakovich is our guest, and Joe is JML Financial. His website is jmlfinancialgroup.com. And if you would like to reach Joe and you want to set up an initial consultation, which is complimentary, you really want to straighten out your finances, you call him up and schedule that. Well, you'll schedule it with his wife. Okay.
Right.
856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. And if you want to know Joe's schedule, you just call his wife. I mean, it's
real easy.
Yeah, I mean, you go, Lynn, where am I going today?
Well, I will tell you what we just started, John, and you'd be impressed with this. I mean, my technology is starting to get better. We're right now, anybody can go online and look up what we have, a RMD evergreen video. And what that does is it's a video that I produced, and I'll have another one being produced as we speak here, talks about the RMD strategy. And I'm getting a lot of play from that all over I wouldn't say all over the country, but in this region, because I do Facebook with it. And I'm getting people to sit down and put in on my calendar, my first 30 or 60 minute, appointment with them. And it's really been interesting because I've been meeting people, and believe it or not, John, some people are really, really smart and have, one in particular I'm working on now. I'm seeing him next week. He was a trader on Wall Street, worked in our business, but he was a trader. And he said, Joe, I've been listening to you. I listened to what you said today. I listened also to your RMD Evergreen video. And I need someone like you holistically, because you incorporated not only the income strategy, but to preservation of capital. But more importantly, I never thought about the dependency that it could happen to me and my family, and knowing that and he's in the business. And I was wondering, I said, I had enough of me doing it myself, and I need someone like you to put all the pieces together. Even to the point where, do you have a will? No, I haven't my kids are in their, 20s, but I haven't updated since they were 3. So I kind of do that all the time, John. I put all the pieces together, and I'm very, very forthright of making sure they get it done. You need someone like me to kind of hold your hand through this, time of uncertainty that we've never seen before. Remember, 40 years, John. I mean, think about it. It's to me, I never even thought that I'd be in the business, might have myself retired. But what's how I'm finding out? For me, it's not retirement. It's the enjoyment, the true enjoyment of helping people, because it's so much uncertainty. Like if it was everybody got a pension plan and Social Security, it'd make my job easy. But that doesn't happen today. And because of inflation and because of taxes and because of cost, when I go in to a cookie cutter portfolio, it's easy to make sure we're able to better what we just talked about, fees, costs, tax situations all the time.
Okay, you're going to talk about the most important areas of planning. Right. What are they?
Well, the first one, we just did a little bit of that already. We want to make sure we can control fees, John. And that's one thing I want to make sure that you and the listeners understand. There are certain things we can control. I can't control inflation. I'm afraid to tell you that. I can control taxes because I can do tax harvesting, which means that I can use portfolios that will help us pay less tax. One would be the Roth or a different type of life insurance contract. We can control the fees of what it's costing somebody to service a portfolio. So we try to lower the fees as much as possible because I do a lot of different things for the client. And last is the risk tolerance. We do and are able to control your risk because there's certain things I can't control, like longevity. I can't control it. I'm afraid to tell you. You could live to 90. What do I do? Or you can die tomorrow. What do I do?
Yeah.
So, but I need people to understand and sit down with me. These are the things that we can control together. And those little things that we can control makes a lot more sense long term than trying to second guess the market, mind you. And everybody's a do-it-yourselfer today, and until they sit with me, they go, I never knew what I didn't know. And that happens quite a bit.
Yeah, I know. They're all do-it-yourselfers. And then when they sit with you, they, oh, boy, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Correct.
So talk about inflation, and it's on the top of everyone's mind, of course.
Right.
But global inflation, how does that affect us?
Well, you know, John, it's sad as it may be, but diesel fuel is still high. So everything that we purchase continues to increase. Gas prices have kind of settled a bit, which is kind of good, but still pricing on products for sure have increased a bit. So the Fed, again, raising rates faster than ever. Chairman Powell may have to, again, I believe, have to raise rates until inflation breaks. It's not there yet. You know, people have mixed emotion. What is recession going to look like? Or are we going into recession? And because of that, we have more layoffs than we ever seen before and more people that are working in homes, you know, at home working. So, again, less spending, less consumption. Think about what's happening here, John. You know, Chair Powell may also have to lower, they're doing their best to lower the stock portfolio. So you're going to start to feel a little poorer, which people don't understand that, you know, because of inflation starting to creep up big time. Because if you think about it, John, 40%, I get this, John, this is a fact, 40% of all money that's been printed in America has been done over the last 3 years. 40% of printing.
Wow.
So you can see the excess of inflation, and who knows how much has been wasted. And I'm talking waste. It's sad. But in looking at a 25 basis points and maybe in the next 2 times, that's what I'm looking at, because we still don't have this under control. They want 2%. I don't think they're going to be able to get, and it takes a while for this to happen. And now you're going to start to see housing change. You know, I remember, I mean, I got a mortgage. I can't even, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you why I even got the mortgage. I didn't have to, but I got a mortgage of 2%. So I'm not selling that mortgage being 2%.
No.
And we're looking at 6.5%, 7%. And it should be normalcy, should be between 4 and 5%. I mean, we got in such a habit of having these low suppression of interest rates. That's why. But the normal rate should be in the 4 or 5% range. Housing is still being, you know, an issue. You know, residential housing and not enough. But we're going to start to see some serious cracks, John. And the cracks we're going to start to see, unfortunately, we're going to see layoffs. And you're seeing that happening now. You don't hear much about it. And you're going to start to see companies that are starting to be and go into bankruptcy. Either bankrupt 7 or 11. Think about it. And why you're seeing that, because remember, they borrowed at 0% interest rate.
Yeah.
Now they're asked to pay it back at 6-7%.
Oh, man.
They don't have enough of the money to pay the debt off, let alone have enough cash flow in the company. You're going to start to see that. That trickles down to your portfolios of what you're holding in your 401ks and IRAs and stuff. I don't think, maybe no, that if the people that are working with our total clientele are mentioning that information to them. That's the concern. Oh, just, you know, put it here, forget it, keep your foot up, don't worry about it, it's going to come back. Yeah, but the only problem is if you lose 67%, how long would it take to come back just to break even?
Man, a lot of years.
I mean, think about it. You're 75 years old. Yeah, by the time you're 85 or 90, you'll come back to break it even. That doesn't work.
No.
That model does not work, John.
All right. Talk about an inverted curve. You've talked about that before. What do you mean by that?
Now, you see this happening right now, John, and this is really, really nuts. You're seeing that what we've seen with inverted curves also predates recessions. Still, it takes 18 to 24 months for a downturn to arrive at a yield curve. You realize right now, John DeMazzi, you ready for this?
Yeah,
a
buddy.
2-year rate, you're getting, give or take, not exact, 4.5%. A 10-year rate is 3.7, and a 1-year rate is 5.5. So what inverted curve means is you have short-term rates that are higher than long-term rates. That's not supposed to happen. So what's happening is the delusion of people going in and doing that, and the banks are suppressing that, and Fed Powell doing that. When you have an inverted curve, just on the horizon, we have problems. Who do we have today?
We are going to talk to one of your favorite callers.
No, don't tell him.
John in Ocean City.
Johnny, how are you doing, brother?
Hey, what's happening? Yeah, we have a $32 trillion national debt. The unfunded liability, that's over $1 trillion.
Oh,
we have an unprotected border. Yeah. So all these, we'll build an Iroquois longhouse out in some place where our faces will freeze off in the wintertime. Yeah. That's not going to happen anytime soon. A lot of us can't do that anyway.
John, you know what I used to say? I can only say this to you and get away with it, by the way. You know what I used to say, John? This is so funny because I look forward to hearing your lovely voice. You know, I used to say back in the day, John, I kid you not, my friend, I'm going back 20 years ago when I used to do, and I still do, workshops and seminars. And it was a great time to meet people, and I would have so many people to come in, and I wasn't real smart because what I did was I could only handle 20 a quarter, so the rest of them, the 50, I would just say, I'll talk to you later. But I used to say at the end of my presentation, John, there's 3 things you must have. You need to have security system. You need to have a German Shepherd, and you need to have 2 brothers, Smith and Wesson. And everybody would laugh, John. They would go, and guess what? If you fast forward, there's still the 3 things we need more than ever before today.
Yeah. And we need chutzpah to live in this world of Michigan. Thanks.
Right. Thanks, John. Thanks for the call.
Thanks, John. Okay.
You have all of those, by the way. You do have the German Shepherd.
Yes, I do have the German Shepherd. But, at the end of the day, John, people are concerned with what's going on. And it's sad because we think about money a lot. People, I just had my watch fixed. They were so nice. They didn't even charge me just to take my little link out here. But, the lady goes, I need your card. I need your card. And another woman was there talking to me. And it's just, I said, this is what I'm on the station 95.5, and I gave her all the calling letters and so forth. She says, for you, that's how easy it happens to me, John. I'm talking, the first time I asked her, are you married, single? He goes, I'm single. Do you have any children? No. And she goes, I need your card. I said, before I give you my card, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. And I got in a conversation with her because she was concerned with taxes. And she said, John, I didn't say this. She said it. I think about money every day.
Yeah.
And there's a woman, probably I'm going to give some benefits. She's probably high 30s, maybe low 40s. Attractive woman, works in the jewelry store. But she thinks about money every day. Think about it. People that are 50s and 60s have to think about money every day.
Yeah.
And it's sad. There's the days, like I said, no more pensions. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Social Security could be cut. Taxes, inflation. And we put plans together, but they don't have a plan. They're all over the place. So
we have one more break, and then we're going to get out of here.
Yeah, baby.
Joe is got more to talk about here on the show. Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We have time for 1 or 2 more quick calls. 609-407-1450, 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. We will come back with final thoughts in today's Joe Yakovich show. That's my show, but it's Joe's show.
That sounds
after these words.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
Joe Yakovich is registered with, and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
It's all good, very good. The Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, in conjunction with AMI Atlanticare, presents the 37th Annual Red, White, and Blueberry Festival, Sunday, June 25th in Hamilton, the blueberry capital of the world. You want blueberries? They have millions of them, fresh from the farm, plus pies, cupcakes, cannoli, buckle, ice cream, and more. Live music from Stealing Savannah and party with DJ Nikki G. Great food, crafters, kiddie rides, and the Cruisin' Classic Car Show. Sunday, June 25th, Hamilton High School grounds, just off Route 30 in Hamilton. Free admission. Follow signs to free festival parking. The Red, White, and Blueberry Festival, brought to you in part by AMI Atlanticare, NJM Insurance Group, Rothman Orthopedics, Truist Bank, and Servpro Team Fabiani, and also by
R.H. Pole Barnes, Stockton University, Hamilton, Kramer Hall, Tales of the Olive, Top Crop Blueberries, and Variety Farms. Supported in part by a grant from the New Jersey Department of State, Division of Travel and Tourism. It's all good. Very good. And we are back here on the show.
That's a new one.
You like that, huh?
I like that a lot, I'm telling you.
Joe Yakovich available during the week at 856-751-1771. That's 856-751-1771. And his website, jmlfinancialgroup.com. jmlfinancialgroup.com is the website. And you never know, very soon you may be seeing a billboard or two.
Yes.
We'll see.
Think about doing some billboard
Maybe we'll share a billboard.
We're ready, baby. We're ready.
Can we have two egos on one billboard?
No,
that's the question. Or actually one ego. You've got the ego, not me. Okay. 609-407-1450 is the number here. A couple of minutes left if you want to jump in with a call. Joe, we have a lot of uncertainty now.
Yeah.
And in the future. I mean, it's every day. What can someone expect when retiring at these uncertain times? And what do you do to help them get through this?
Well, John, that's a great question. It really is. I'm being straight up with you. That's probably the most important question that anyone can ask me. And that's why, it really is, for me, an honor of 40 years of hearing and listening and having conversations and learning. I never stop learning at all. And every morning I wake up and it's 6:30 and I'm reading something pertaining to our business and how I can help people decipher this mess of things. And it's gotten more crazier than I've ever seen it. And I can share with anyone for that matter, because I am fiduciary. I have a background in, Wall Street, and I have a background in insurance and income planning. So I incorporate both of those philosophies, which is quite unique in my space. But, the scary part is because when you start out, you don't want to be in a bear market, and bear markets will pass, but you don't want to start out, in a down situation. So you have to be prepared for all these things. And history has shown us many, many times successful ways to retire. Even in a down market, we put specific strategies into place so we're able to weather all these market conditions. And John, no kidding, we're going to see more stuff, and which is challenging for me, but great for me because the type of strategy I put together, John, works with volatility. See, when you're dealing with just a portfolio, when you're dealing with volatility, it doesn't work, because when you take money out of a declining market, it's devastating. You will lose quite rapidly, besides the RMD. And the other thing is, John, I get questions all the time before we close up here. Will I outlive my money, Joe Yakovich? And will my money outlive me? So I like to talk to a lot of people. Doesn't matter what their income is. and what the degree of certainty is, but I want people to understand, let my family, and you said it with my wife and my son, let my family help your family. I have no hidden agenda when I sit down with people, because people ask me, well, Joe Yakovich, do I have enough money? And do I have this? You know, to me, I treat people with respect to what they own and how I can help them. This is not, I don't have to make it fancy. But you know what? We talked about this all the time. I'm Pete Rose, and I bet on myself. Meaning that I want people to understand singles, to me, are easy for people to work with us. We give you carte blanche. We give you opportunities to continuously get newsletters from us and continue to educate you, or at least guide you on what you should know about inflation, taxes, uncertainty, Secures Act 2, RMD, whatever it may be, John. I want people to really understand it's a carte blanche. It's a clean slate. You're coming to speak with me. And whatever that may be, John, you'll let us know.
And with that, we are going to put the wraps on another edition of Talk with a Purpose. Well, you'll come back in 2 weeks.
I need another 2 hours with you.
Oh, thanks to Chris Coleman, our program director and producer. Thanks to Joe Yakovich, JML Financial, his website, jmlfinancialgroup.com. 856-751-1771 is his number. I'm John DeMasi. Thank you for listening. Without you, we don't have a show. It's that simple. Have a great week. Talk to you next week here. Talk with a Purpose. Saturdays, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You take care.
The preceding program was paid for and presented by John DeMasi.